As a native Black American and a proud member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. Help me help you discover your roots with a personalized genealogy consultation. DNA tests can't prove ethnicity or tribal affiliation. You must search through paper records to dive deep into your family heritage. During the personalized consultation, you're going to learn how to navigate the process with ease, how to connect with your ancestral tribe, and I'll show you the step by step process I went through to obtain tribal citizenship. So take the first step in unlocking your past. To book a consultation, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com.
You're talking about the girl,
Bro, I
Jennifer
know
Hudson.
black gangs
Hold
that
on,
shoot up a
hold
house.
on. Let me
They will
talk.
shoot your
Let me
grandma.
talk.
Go listen to a rap song. They will tell you. Even 50 Cent will tell you he was going to shoot your mom's house.
If they warn
Bro,
against you, if they warn
I'm
against
trying
you.
to play this game, man. Come on.
No, you playing the game. Listen, Mike.
I know you say Mexican gangs. I'm all
Mike.
white gang, black gang. Come on, man.
Right, Mike. So black people are more racist than everybody else.
Mike, I give you the
gangsters
example,
are not
Mike.
being racist. Gangsters are just being evil. That's all. Gangsters,
bro.
they just go after
They was on some.
they're acting out of.
They was on some race
Mike,
stuff. Like, that was real racism.
Can I talk, Mike?
They went after them because they were black, not because they were just on some gang stuff.
Right. They went after them because you got gang banging, which is, you know what I'm saying? There's, gang banging is gang banging. But when you target people just because they black, people that's not even in the gang, you're just gonna run up in their house. They did it to say, okay, we're gonna mess with the black gang banging.
So Mexican gangsters are going into black people's homes and killing black people. That's what you're telling me for no reason.
And they was doing that in California. They was literally doing that in California,
bro.
They was going into people that had nothing to do with gang banging.
Into a Mexican neighborhood, bro.
Doing it.
Ain't no black people killing Mexicans moving into a black people.
They were, man. They were. Trust me. I know that thing between black and Hispanic in California. I know about it. And it was openly happening in California. It wasn't happening in.
Oh, Mike.
Oh, no. Allow people to talk, man. God damn.
No, you ain't allow me to talk. You ain't allow me to talk.
I just let you go. You just finished landing.
No, you let me talk for like.
Okay. Can you finish and let me know when you're done? Okay, go ahead. Let me know when you're done.
Okay, Mike. What you're explaining when you talked about Jennifer Hudson, that was some black gang members that were scheming on some money. They thought she had some money, and they were scheming on her mother because they thought they gave her mother some money. Okay, that's regular gang banging. What they were doing in California.
What's the difference? Is that what you're accusing the
Mexicans of doing? No, that's not racism though. We talk about racism. That's just plain outright.
How did you know the gang guy that went to the black houses because of their race? How did you know he's not looking for money too? Like
they were
literally messing with black people.
It was literally on the
neighborhood, bro. They were
Mike,
for being in the gang or having money, bro.
Mike, these Mexican gangs, they made a truce upon themselves, and they said, "Okay, we're going to target black gangs." But they were not just targeting black gang members. They was running up in people's houses that were in Mexican neighborhoods. That were like in Mexican neighborhoods, run up in black people's houses, telling them they got to get out their house. That's racism.
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. When I was in California, I was there. It was a shock to me because I lived in the East Coast and I also been to the South, and I never
saw. How long were you in California?
Can you give me a chance, please? And because I was going there back and forth for years, I was like, literally, I would go live there, come back, and I saw like the Mexican and black just like so hate each other, and I was wondering, I don't see this anywhere else. Like
from the outside looking in.
Let me talk, man. Calm down. And I was seeing this issue with the gangs, the black gangs and the Mexican gang going after each other. And then when I begin to dig to kind of talk to the Hispanics, talk to the blacks, and talk to even the white and people that are neutral. And then when I begin to give me that story, what I found was when the blacks were the one that usually owned the neighborhood. So the Mexican, when they were coming into the U.S. and all the population was growing, they were moving to the black neighborhoods. The blacks started being xenophobic towards them. So now they started targeting them by robbing them. Oh, look at Mexican, they will rob them. They will do, those kind of things. And then eventually the Mexican realized that, okay, these blacks are just targeting us because we are weak. We are like immigrants. So that's when they started forming their own gang to counter the blacks. They started acting tough. And then it got to a point where their number now grew above the black numbers. And then the blacks started claiming victim. And historically, because every other place in America, the Mexican numbers have grown above the black. But it's not, hold on. Wait. It's not happening. But in California, there's a history behind it. So what I'm trying to tell you is I'm not glorifying the black and Hispanic going after each other. But I know from what I learned, history, the blacks started it. They started targeting the Mexicans. And the people, just like right now, look at you, you're targeting all
And now can I ask you a
the
question,
Africans and the
Mike?
Caribbean.
Mike,
You know, because you feel like they're weak, they're cold, they're immigrants.
Hey, Mike, you
Whenever you want to stop rambling, Mike, I have a
Let's
question
take
for you.
responsibility instead of trying to play victim, man.
Hold
Come
on,
on.
Mike. You think that's
Okay,
What you
Mike,
say
you
about
just
the
told me
Mike
to
don't
speak.
know
Now,
nothing
Mike, I
about
have a question
what
for
about
you.
the
Hold on,
Caribbean?
Mike.
I'm new to the panel. I haven't had a
Hold on,
chance
man.
to
Can you
speak.
shut
I
up,
have a
man?
quick question for Mike,
Go
if I
ahead,
may.
go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Can I ask Mike a question?
The Bush baby, Mike. You said that you got all this
Let's not do that.
information
Let's
from
not do
living
that.
in
Let's not do
California
It's
that.
for
okay,
a year,
man.
right?
It's okay. It's okay. I'm used to this bush baby thing. Mike, it's
Don't
okay.
take this
Just
guy
call me
serious,
bush baby.
man.
It's fine.
This guy's a clown.
Answer my question, Mike. You
Go
said
ahead,
you
what's your
got this
question?
information from living in California for a year. Is that correct?
I didn't say yeah, but what is your question?
It sounded like you said a year. If it wasn't a year, correct me. How long did you live in California?
Just ask me a question. You don't worry.
I just asked you a question, dumbass. How long did you live in California?
Irrelevant. Okay, I'm
No,
not
That is
answering.
very
Very
relevant.
Very
You
relevant to the
interrupt your
Very
conversation.
interviewer
You
relevant.
just an
talking like you know
outsider.
the
You are
history
outsider looking
between
in, bro. You
blacks and
can't.
Mexicans in California, and you're too insecure to even tell us how long you were in California. You fucking African. How long did you do a little tourist run in California? Were you there for a week? Were you there for a month? Were you there for a year? How long were you in California, Bush baby? Don't be shy. Yeah, he ran. He ran like a little bitch because he knows that I was going to deconstruct all that bullshit he was up here talking about. Oh, see, I lived in California, and see what I learned is I went to a quinceañera, and when I went to the quince, the Mexicans told me the truth about the blacks and the Mexicans. And see what happened was the blacks was xenophobic, and the Mexicans had to build up their numbers, and then once they built up their numbers, now they war with the blacks, but the blacks claim victim. You don't know what the fuck you up here talking about.
Let
Too
me say this,
insecure to
Mike.
even tell us how long he lived in fucking California. You were a spectator. You don't know shit about California politics nor race relations.
He don't
Fucking
understand
ignorant
that
ass Bush baby.
black
Blacks
people
don't got no
ain't.
issues with Mexicans. Blacks have lived side by side with Mexicans in California for hundreds of years. You fucking ignorant ass African.
I don't want to say that, but what I'm saying, Mike, he don't even understand that California used to be a part of Mexico. There's never been a time where there was more black people in California than Mexicans, ever. And he's gonna say, well, you know, black people moved. I mean, Mexicans moved into these black neighborhoods.
I was a poor bush baby, and when I moved to California, I can only afford to live in Compton and Inglewood. And when I was in Compton and Inglewood back and forth, I saw the blacks beefing with the Mexicans over turf. Nigga, what the fuck are you talking about? This nigga's a whole ass African trying to dictate to us the history between blacks and Mexicans. You a whole ass bush baby running around to every other community but your own.
Like, Mike, how is that possible?
Mike,
When California used to be a part of Mexico, how could blacks outnumber Mexicans?
And by and large, blacks have had positive relationships with Mexicans. We haven't had no huge fucking race wars and race riots against Mexicans. In prison, that's a whole different thing. Everything's by race. But we got issues with the Koreans more than we do the fucking Mexicans. What are you talking about?
Well, like I said, as far as like Mexicans, like you got some cool Mexicans. Don't get me wrong, you got a lot of cool Mexicans, but you got some racist Mexicans. You know, Mike.
Oh, the Bush baby is back. Maybe the Bush baby can answer Mike's question now. How long did you live in California?
Hey,
Mike, don't listen to this guy, man. He's a clown.
Man.
How long did you live in California, Mike? Were you there for a weekend? Were you there for
I was there for a weekend. Yeah, I was there for a weekend.
Were you there for a year?
Weekend.
Okay, I got you.
Okay, all right.
So the Bush baby was in Skid Row for the weekend while he was making his way to a migrant shelter on the East Coast, and he saw some bad things. I got it.
Mike, did you ask the black people what happened?
What exactly are you responding to everything I've said? What is your? I mean,
just Mike. You said you talked to the Mexicans. Have you been in touch to the black people?
No, it's not about talking to the bro. Here's the deal.
See how he's stuttering?
Response to my
because he knows that the real Mike is up here, and the real Mike don't play this bullshit from the Bush baby Mike. Man's ran away from the stage. He fled. Then he came back. He regrouped. He got Chance running defense for him, and still he's a stuttering fucking Stanley because he don't know what he's talking about, and it's obvious.
Okay, what I know that I'm talking about is Black Americans are very racist to everybody, just like you're being racist to me right now. You're very racist to
Oh, yes,
everybody.
I'm being
And
racist
that's
to
when
you. Guys, the
the people
Bush baby
push
is
back.
crying racism because I'm
And-
correcting him on his
Exactly. It's the
mistruths.
same. This is the same
about my
attitude you
state
get
I
to the
live in.
Mexicans.
Yeah, guys,
Hold
I'm
on,
being
hold on.
racist towards the African.
Hold on. And
Oh,
you from
the
California, in
Bush
fact.
baby. Oh,
Yeah,
the blacks
and that's
are so
exactly what you said
racist.
to the Mexicans.
So
But they started
racist.
kicking
Hey,
your
She goes
ass,
back
and you
to
added
African
them.
don't take
baby.
this guy serious.
Oh
man.
wait,
He's
them
a clown,
Africans
man.
are racist
That's the
against
same thing they
Africans.
said to the
Riddle me that.
Mexicans when the
He's a clown,
Mexicans
man.
Over here
started
Mike,
telling
fighting
y'all
them.
the N-word.
Hey,
They,
But you don't
the
want to
Black
talk about the
Americans are
fucking
racist.
genocide you
have a
Bush babies
conversation.
do.
Mike,
You
And I
cannot
wish
Mike,
you
Mike.
started in
That's the
the
same thing they were
chance
calling the
because I heard
Mexicans.
word on
The
the street
Bush
is you're
babies.
talking
The
Nigerian
Mexicans
chance.
started
So
pushing
you want to
back.
talk about the fact
Hey,
Nigeria
Mike
has the
TV, Mike
largest
TV,
homeless
Mike
population in
TV.
the fucking world, chance?
Mike
If
TV.
chance is
The
Nigeria,
Mexicans,
then I
Hold
want
on.
to
where
hear
you
what
went
he
after the
thinks about
Mexicans. Then the
Nigeria
Mexicans
having the
pushed
largest
back,
homeless
and then
population
you
in
call
the
the
world.
Mexicans
You
racist.
homeless, decrepit, fucking
You can have a
fleeing Bush
conversation with
babies.
this guy on the planet, bro.
Mike,
He's a clown,
Mike
bro.
TV. You could
Oh my God,
discuss.
man!
You could argue with him, and I'll call them all that. Now, Chance. Now,
I can
Chance
call
is
him a Bush baby
Nigerian.
if I
You
fucking
guys
want
see where
to.
I'm coming
Them niggas
from?
ran around calling us
That's the same thing they
akatas
were doing
and
to the
Jareers and
Mexicans,
shit.
and then the
I get your
Mexicans
Pan
pushed
African
back,
big black.
and then they
Chance
started
ain't
calling them racist.
called you that, though.
They can
Mike,
just
Mike,
go around
Mike,
calling
Mike,
us a fucking akata.
Mike,
Chance
I can call them a
ain't
Bush
called
baby.
you that.
And they can hold that fucking
Chance
Hey,
ain't called you that.
Hey, Big Black, don't worry about this guy, man. He's a clown.
And then
bro.
East
I
Coast
already know this guy.
Africans are into
The
incest.
guy's
let me-
proving
So the
my
East Coast
argument. Mike
Africans
TV is
aren't
proving
Bush
my
babies.
argument.
Hey,
We
He
call
came
them
in to prove
husband babies.
exactly what my argument is.
You got Bush babies on the west,
I
and you
get
got
what
cousin
you're saying.
babies on the
I
east.
get what
You
you're saying.
fucking inbred backwards savages.
Oh my God. Yo, you can have a conversation with this guy on the
Yeah,
planet.
you guys.
Hey, Mike.
That's the same thing they were doing to the Mexicans. And the
Hey, Mike. I get
they
what
were
you're saying.
being
But
so racist to the Mexicans. They were being so racist to the Africans right now. And then the
hold on.
Mexicans' numbers grew, and the Mexicans started pushing back. And then they
Hey,
call
hold
the
on.
Mexicans. They're playing the victim.
Hold on,
This
Mike.
is what I'm
That's
talking
not
about.
real.
He
What this
proved
is, it's not
my
racism,
point.
though, bro.
Hold on. Let me say this, man.
Like
I
I say,
understand.
that
Nobody-
East Africa, you can't tell us about
Hey,
racism.
Black
but
Americans
hold
are
on.
very racist.
It's not
Man. You guys
racism.
think you are.
Hey, Mike,
Mike,
I understand
nobody
what you're
agrees
saying.
with you on the panel. Nobody agrees with you on the panel, Mike.
Hold
Nobody.
on, Big Black. I understand
Boy,
what you're
my
saying, Mike.
TV is proving my point.
Hold on. Can I just speak, man? God damn it. You
Go ahead.
keep go back and forth. I get what you're saying, Mike. You know what I'm saying? But don't underestimate this Mexicans when it comes to racism. Their racism is crazy, my man.
Black,
That's all I got to say.
everybody practice racism, but I'm telling you that the Black American racism is worse than the Mexican racism.
Okay,
I'm
Mike.
telling you.
Mike, what is racism? What is racism to you, bro?
You guys just need to accept it. You can,
What is
I'm not saying this,
racism,
I'm a
bro?
black person, so why would I be saying something like this? If I mean, come on.
Mike,
I'm
have
telling
any
you that
black Americans tried to
way
fight
more
you?
racist than the Mexicans.
Have any black Americans tried to physically do harm to you because you was Nigerian?
Do you know that 99% of
He's a
Nigerians?
Nigerian?
I'm
He's a
asking my
fucking
yes. Yeah, I was like,
Both
yes.
these Bush
Do
babies
you know
on
that
the
nine-
panel
do you know
are
that-
Hold on, Mike.
Nigerian.
Answer my question, Mike. Answer my question, Mike.
Fucking earth,
Boy,
Mike,
I'm
Mike,
answer. I will answer you.
Mike, answer my question.
Babies. You got a
I am
population
answering
of
your
24
question, but you're not
million
allowing me to
homeless,
answer.
and that's why you're over here.
I
Mike,
answer yes or
telling
no
you.
question.
Because you didn't want to
Yes or
answer
no question.
Nigeria.
Can
Y'all
you
need
hear
to
me?
take your ass back to Nigeria with this
Can you hear
shit.
me?
I thought you was proud Igbo tribesmen.
Can you guys hear
What
me?
the fuck you doing over here in America?
He's not even
Go back to Africa.
Are you guys
and
hearing
stay
me?
there. Fix your
Yeah,
country,
we
Bush
can hear
baby.
you. Yeah,
Maybe you can build
okay,
a
so I'm trying to
Wakanda.
answer this question.
Stop fleeing to Europe.
99%, if not up to that, something around the number of Africans that were murdered in the United States were murdered by Black Americans. So what are you telling me?
But
Have they ever? What are you talking about?
Hold on.
Mike,
Go look at the number. I'm
Mike,
not making it up.
Mike, have any
98%
African
of the Black
Americans
Americans murdered in
tried to
Nigerians
do
are murdered by
physical harm to
Nigerians.
you because you was Nigerian? Yes or no?
Yes.
Give us a story. Give us a story. Give us a story. How did they do it? Yeah, let's see you make this. Because when you lie, you gotta make up another lie to back that lie up.
Lying, what I'm about to tell you, if I'm lying, I can take the horse right now in front of you. What I'm about to tell, even on
You're lying, you're flying.
A word of an
online
African means
a Black
nothing,
American threatening my life.
Scamming
on
ass
this,
fucking
if I'm on Kaiser
Nigerian.
show.
Do we expect anything
In
but
real
lies?
life, I had a Black
from
American
who
threatening my
comes
life,
from a
saying
culture of
if I come
deception
to his
and
neighborhood, he will shoot me.
scheming, scamming
Because
ass,
you're not
lying
Nigerian.
ass
My years of living in
Nigerian.
America,
You don't
I've
believe a
never
goddamn
had a
thing
white
you
person
say,
threaten my life.
Bush
I've
baby.
never had a Hispanic person threaten my life.
Hey,
And I'm telling you that you guys are very hostile towards everybody.
Yeah,
And that's what the
he's not lying
problem is.
about that, bro.
No,
And you just
I
have to
asked you, have somebody
just
ever
answer your
want to
question.
fight
What
you?
else do you want me to say?
Why
And I'm telling you that
you say he
I know
threatened your life?
Nigerians,
Hold on, Ben Black.
He threatened you because you was a
almost every
Nigerian.
Nigerian know that were murdered in America were murdered by Black Americans. I'm not
Spread
saying this
your life.
to tell you that to express any kind of hatred or anything. I'm just telling you
He
the
threatened
truth.
your life because you was Nigerian. That's what you're saying.
I don't know what he did, but I just think
Okay,
it's
that's so
Yeah,
no.
that's
So
not
the question is
racist, bro.
no.
But I
That's
answer
not
your
racist.
question though.
No, you didn't answer my
No
question.
one
question.
is
Black
threatening
American
your
I asked you.
life,
in my
you
life.
I asked you.
lying ass
Has
backward
anybody
savage.
tried to
Why
do
are we
bodily
gonna threaten
harm
the life
to
of
you
our
because you
Uber
was
Eats
Nigerian?
delivery driver?
Has any
Why are
black
we gonna
American?
threaten the life of our taxi man? We won't threaten your life. You're here to work
I don't
for
know
us
what
like
happened
a
to your
good
sister.
boy. That's what you're here for,
But here's the deal,
African.
man.
To do
I think we
poor
should all just
slave-like labor
accept
in America. We don't
reality
want to
of
get rid of you.
our
Bring me
society,
my
our
DoorDash
environment,
delivery,
and
fuck nigga.
rather than being defensive. No, I'm not saying all this to attack or anything. I'm just telling you the truth. Before we start pointing
Tell us
finger,
the truth.
before we
Because
start
I
pointing
asked you a
finger at
question
other
and you
people,
was
we
being
need to check the finger that's pointing back at us.
Right. That's you need to use your same advice. You need to use that same advice.
I will take your advice too.
Listen, I asked you, have anybody black American ever tried to do harm on you because you was Nigerian? You said someone tried to threaten bodily harm on you, but you said it wasn't because you're Nigerian. It's just you had a bad encounter
in
with
fact, on this show, the person that threatened to kill me on this show, Kaiser probably, in fact, Kaiser made the show, even put it on what do you call it? The person, the beef he had with me was I'm Nigerian.
The African
it was
on the
in Nigeria,
internet.
the beef the person had with me is that I'm Nigerian. I'm African.
You
So
bitch
maybe
made
that answer your
fucking
question.
bush baby.
The
You
beef
really
was
No, that don't answer my question.
somebody
I
told
funny
you
or anything.
online. That's the death threat you're talking about. Somebody's trolling you online. If you're so sensitive, go back to the bush, dumb nigga.
So before you start talking to Mexicans, maybe you should address
the same
your
motherfuckers who
brothers.
said
You talking about this show?
kindergarten. Somebody called them an African booty scratcher.
About 300 miles away from you on this show.
Hey, being black, yes,
You got paid
when
by a
African
dusty out there, bro.
back then, they were being disrespected. Yeah, I get what Mike is saying.
Even now, even on this show today, we still being disrespected. I just got called
I can see.
And you want me to be worried about white supremacy? Name a white man has ever come on this show to call me a bullshit.
That's Mike TV. Mike TV is
a black American. Is he not?
No, he's an Indian. He's saying to Albo.
You're right. You're right.
He's an Albo.
The white man doesn't call you a bush baby.
He's an Albo. He's not African American.
So
ask Mike TV is he African American.
He puts you in the zoo like a fucking monkey. That's what the white man does.
You just always excuse yourself.
And you're going to cry about black Americans.
Your community. You have issue in your community. You have a lot of racist people in your community.
Those people talk shit about y'all, bro.
And deal with that before you start accusing Mexicans of being
Them
racist.
Europeans had anthropological studies that said that you guys were backwards, savage, ape-like creatures.
The white people
you mad at me because I called you a bush baby online.
I've never had a Mexican call me a bush baby. Every Mexican I've been around
don't care about no fucking
I respect
African.
myself.
Nobody cares about no fucking Africans.
Let's just be honest.
Who the fuck is really calling in to try to be on a live stream talking to some fucking Africans? I'm here because this is my day job. We running the numbers up. Shout out to Kaiser. The dynamic duo. This is going to be an excellent clip. My audience is going to find much joy in this.
Even Martin Luther King said,
ain't nobody else really trying to talk to a fucking failed ass Nigerian.
So
a Nigerian, really? Who wants to talk to a Nigerian? Always.
Let's just face it, man.
Mike,
Black American practice a lot of racism.
I told him to call. I asked him to calm down. He said, "Oh no, don't tell him to calm down. I'm used to this. I go to the show."
So you telling me to be going after Mexicans for racism when black American is here calling me bush baby all day?
You go to his show and let him do that. You been at his show. You a special guest every day.
I should be worried about white man.
Black Americans are
Africans.
How's that racism with y'all the same race, Mike?
I gotta do something.
Come on, guys. Black Americans are so racist to Africans because Mike TV is out here calling them bush babies and cousin babies.
Man, shut the fuck up, man. Shut the fuck up, stupid bitch.
You sound so hard on the internet, bush baby. Head dogs holler and you yelping like a little bitch right now. So yelp for me. I like the way you yelp, boy.
Shut the fuck up, bitch. You're not even black, man. Shut the fuck up.
Yelp a little bit louder. You have to turn up your volume microphone.
My TV is the elbow. He's an elbow, and he kind of,
here while he's yelping like a little bush baby bitch.
He think he Indian. He think he Indian. Why you don't even bother, man? Chance.
Guys, this is a new evolution. You are witnessing the evolution right before your eyes. Chance is not just a bush baby. He has evolved. Chance is a bush baby bitch. That's a new term that I've coined.
Mike doesn't know who he is.
This is an exclusive, guys. Chance is a bush baby bitch, and it hurts your spirit when I say that, don't it?
Shut the fuck
You
up.
praying to the Orishas right now, huh?
Hey, talk to me when you
Elegba
black, man.
Oshun
Mike got a lot of
Ogun,
chance. The thing is,
beach.
Mike got
Listen, man,
Mike TV got a lot of
Come on,
self-hate,
Bush
man.
baby. I
Mike
like the way you
TV.
dance, Bush baby, and I love that the Pan Africans are trying to run defense. This is glorious. The
Oh yeah,
Africans don't even
because you
fucking
got a lot
like
of self-hate,
us.
man.
The Pan
You
Goofy
hate
because he
being
watched
black.
Umar
Mike,
and read so much more.
Mike, you hate being black, Mike.
Bullshit.
You hate
He's a
yourself,
disciple of
Mike.
Noble Drew Ali.
You hate
and
being
shit.
black.
He believes in that
You're not black.
Garveyism
You're not black.
that he needs to
I
tap
think
dance and
if
butt dance
Mike-
with some fucking Africans
If
online.
Mike can
So
snap
big
his
black, if you
fingers
want me
and be
to apply
white,
some
I
pressure
think
to you,
Mike
Pan
would
Goofy,
love to be
I can
white.
definitely do that, but
If
I
he
would
snap-
advise against it.
If he had a switch to go on his
Dealing with
front
Charles
end,
like punching
he wouldn't
down.
be black.
But you know
He
what?
wouldn't be black.
I
He hate
haven't had a
himself.
clip on you
He
Pan
hates
Goofies in a
himself.
while, so
You
I'm
can't
going to
tell
be quiet in
Chance.
about 3 seconds, and I want you to give me
He's
a
calling
good
himself an
clip,
Indian,
you Pan
and he's
Goofy
not
ass
even
bitch.
Indian. He don't know
In
anything about
3,
Indians.
2,
He don't know
1,
anybody
dance for me,
about
boy.
Indians.
He's not-
He don't know anything about the Indians. He's trying to hijack the Indians culture. He hates himself.
Yeah, he's not black, man. This guy's not black enough, man.
He
not
hates
black.
himself,
Get it
man.
with this panel. You cannot have
He's-
a conversation when this guy's on the panel, man. He's
Hey,
like,
yo, anyway, what's up with the new person on the panel? How you doing, new person?
I'm
I'll
doing
look at this
great.
again.
What about you guys?
No. I said the Pan Goofy was supposed to give me a clip like a good little bitch, and I need about 30 more seconds out of him. Big Black, the Pan Goofy, the Umarian. Go ahead and give me about 30 more seconds. Come on. You said I don't know who I am or something. Come on. I need 30 more seconds out of you. Be a good bitch.
Man, I don't really, you know what I'm saying? I debate my equals. All others I teach, man.
Come on, I need 12 more seconds out of you. Come on. I know you got something else besides some old head ass sayings. Come on. 12 more seconds. Give me what you got. No Diddy.
That was Diddy. That was some Diddy. That was straight
No, Diddy. Look at that.
Hey, everybody just stay quiet. Let's just go talk to himself, man. He's a dumbass, man.
Reverse psychology is a hell of a thing, isn't it, guys? If you
Uh,
ever want to shut somebody
That's why your
practice
views
the tactic of reverse
that's why your
psychology.
views getting lower. Your views getting lower.
Goofy, man. You goofy, man. You know.
I remember when you used to have 200 views. Now you down to 50. Why? I've been peeping.
There we go. Here's my clip. Thank you. Hey, that's reverse psychology right now.
Go
Guys.
talk to
I'm
your-
giving y'all a class act. I got this dumb nigga up here pressed. He said, He said, Mike,
Go ahead. Hey, your views been lowering.
Like your views used to be like 200 views, and now you got like 50 views. You went from 200 to 50. What are you fucking talking about? My views
You went from
dumbass.
You went from
200 views. Meanwhile, this
your
nigga
lives.
is faceless
Them-
on YouTube.
them
The only
Nashidi
time we
is
hear
left
from
you.
him
The
is when he
Nashidi
joins
is left
Kaizo's
you,
stream.
Mike. The Nashidi
When the
is left
Pan
you.
Goofy chops it
When
up
you
with
was-
the Africans. who don't like
Remember
the
you used to
expression
hold
that
Tyreek nuts? Remember you used to hold Tyreek nuts? Now you're going against Tyreek now? But you was his main nut holder. You was a nut hoster.
we going into overtime. I only wanted 30 seconds out of you, but you
I'm
giving me a
just
longer
saying.
clip. Thank you. I appreciate
Now,
you. Keep going, boy. I like the way you dance.
you went against Tyreek. Now your numbers lowering. Now, where you gonna go now, man? They keep getting lower and lower because they looking at you. They say, "Man, why are you going against Tyreek when you used to be his main fan?" Where you gonna get your numbers at now, man? You only have about 40 elbows that go on your live.
Come on, old head. When I said make me a clip, you got to at least make it entertaining. This isn't entertaining.
I'm just saying.
You have to at least make it sensational.
Your numbers are getting lower.
Humor me.
Hey, let's talk about something else.
Humor
man.
me. Come on.
Let's leave this goofy ass alone, man. He's a
All right, let's talk about something else.
Yeah, let's talk about something else, man. You know, he's a clown.
He finally realized that he failed miserably. He thought he was cooking, y'all. He thought he was up here roasting. Old head thought he was doing something. And Tariq, and your views. Yes, dumb old nigga, we know you watch me religiously. Nobody watches you,
I've
though.
been paying attention to you, though. I've been paying attention to you.
And I don't pay you. No, never mind. I don't even know who you are. Do you have a channel, sir?
No, I ain't got no channel. But I've been seeing your views sync.
I advise
I've been seeing your views sync. I've been seeing your views sync. I see you got your ass handed to you by no coincidence too. And Sean P. You scared of them? because you ain't got no scholarship. Uh-huh.
If you're gonna make an entertaining clip for me, you have to at least speak about something that we understand. Who are these random ass things? What the fuck are you talking about? Scholarships, old head. You're supposed to say something jovial.
They have no
audience laugh. Come on.
I ain't trying to make an audience laugh. You got an audience full of sellouts.
And you've got zero audience. Damn.
Oh, wow. I try to be a content creator
as a occupational hazard, and you're here for free. Right now, I'm live on my channel. Over 60 people watching a fucking replay. Because I'm so entertaining. My content is so sensational. People want to watch the live streams again on repeat. Damn. Riddle me that. My replay's been running for 3.5 hours. We got about 36 people active in the chat. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Hey, Kaizo, no hate to you, Kaizo, but I want my people to be watching my replay right now. Otherwise, I type something in my chat and bring them over here to your stream. You know, it's a great replay that they're watching right now. Otherwise, I'd bring about 60 to 80 people over here on your platform, Kaizo. But next time.
Yeah, your views getting lower and lower as we speak.
You're finished, dumb nigga. I already put you in the dirt. Hey, Kaizo, are you still here? Because we're supposed to be planning that collab on Friday, and for some reason,
don't speak to that wannabe Abo.
I think I might have put you in the spam folder when that Dipso clown kept spamming me messages trying to schedule a debate.
Oh right, yeah, Friday. I'm good.
Guys, I have a question. I kind of got lost. What was the topic?
There was an ignorant African.
My TV want to be Abo.
Black Americans are racist towards Mexicans, which is why Mexicans have started gang banging against blacks, because Mexicans recently got their numbers up so they can start defending themselves from the racist Black Americans.
That is not true. First of all, let's talk about proximity. I mean, I mean, how close is Mexico from the United States? And California.
Oh no, he was specifically talking about California.
Well, but California used to be part of Mexico before. That's why
exactly it might as well still be part of Mexico with how heavy the population is. Yeah,
and all the names, San Bernardino, all the name of Loma Linda. I mean,
my hometown, Sacramento. Yes,
Sacramento. They're all Mexican. I mean, they're all Spanish names. So
Hey, this guy's half black, man, half Mexican. Something.
Dumb Nigerian, no one's talking to you.
It has to be, man.
Continue, Strictly Travel.
I'm talking
Continue.
now, man. Hey, when I wanted to talk, you didn't let me talk. So
homeless Nigerian, you speak when I give you permission to. Shut up, Bush baby bitch, and let the new person on the panel speak. You had your chance, Bush baby bitch, and that time has passed, Bush baby bitch. Now hold your tongue, Bush baby bitch, or else I will apply pressure on this Bush baby bitch, and I will call you the name that you hate so bad, which is Bush baby bitch. You homeless ass Nigerian scammer. Bush baby bitch.
Fucking slave bitch, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
No, man. No, I'm not. I'm gonna talk, man. I'm gonna speak. So he didn't allow me to speak. He was just interrupting.
I want you to talk. I want you to speak. Just turn up your microphone, Playboy. Nobody can hear you. Just turn up your mic. Kaizo, help him out. Go in his settings and turn his microphone up to 200%. Because we can't hear this dumb nigga.
I'm gonna keep interrupting. I don't care.
You're not interrupting. I am now giving you permission to speak.
No, you're not.
I just want you to turn up your volume on your microphone so we can hear you.
Shut the fuck up, bitch. You the dick, bitch.
Like Africans do?
Shut the fuck up, man. Shut the fuck up.
So is it?
Africans eat dicks and smoke bones and rape children. Don't you know that's the African way?
What about your people, man? What about your people, huh?
They don't do that.
My people are mocked, revered,
they don't do that.
And they are a global success. What are you talking about? My people.
Your own people don't do that.
If you look at the most famous inventors, they are Black American Indians. If you look at the most famous people in entertainment, they are Black American Indians.
Hey, big black. He said Indian.
The most successful musician to ever live on Earth, Michael Jackson, 100% Black American Indian.
This guy's not black, man. This guy's not black, man. I'm telling you, man.
I'll wait.
Hey, this guy's not black. Hey, big black.
Have you ever heard of a famous Nigerian?
Shut the fuck up. What? You don't know? There's what?
I need to think. Let me see.
Yeah. Wait.
Look at this guy. Look at that.
Oh yeah. Maybe
Nigerian, because I don't know any.
Maybe music, Burna Boy. That video.
Burna Boy. Okay, there we go.
Black. Hey, you got some Indians now, bro.
It's
Answer
Burger
that,
Boy.
bro.
And Burger Boy
Hey,
jumps
hey,
full
hey,
swag
you guys
to
got to
the
do a
Black
background
American
check, man. I don't think this
Burger
guy's
Boy is
fully
just a
black.
Nigerian
he's
cosplaying as a 90s
he
Black
wants to be an
American
elbow.
gangster,
He wants
and
to
that's
be
their
an elbow.
biggest claim to fame.
Hey, y'all got to do a
Hey,
background
boy.
check, man. This guy
All
said
right.
I
Indian
don't know how to
soldier. Hey,
make Mike TV don't know how to make any moccasins. He never made a moccasin in his life. He don't know what a teepee is.
And now we have
You know
the
what I'm
Pan
saying?
Goofies running
He
beefs
has
for their cousins, the Bush babies. Because you know, if the Pan Goofies are going to keep up this lie that all Black Americans come from Africa, then they have to be
black
in
people, all
league
black people
with the
come
Bush
from Africa,
babies, which is
man.
why whenever we start cooking a Bush
He
baby,
don't. Hey, Mike
ignorant ass
TV.
Pan African like
Hey,
Big
speak
Black
to us. Speak
chimes
to us in
in.
some Indian
They're
language. Speak to
business
us.
partners.
Speak to
They
us
are
in some Indian language.
colleagues. They
Mike
are fellow
TV
colonizers
doesn't
of
know
sorts.
elbow.
See how the
Mike
Pan Goofies
TV
just can't
can't
hold their
speak
tongue? They can't sit
elbow.
idle
Mike don't
by
know
and
any
let an
elbow.
African
Mike,
get
this
Mike
guy's
erupted.
don't know.
Indian now.
Whoa,
It's
what
against
was your
their
Indian language
doctrine.
at?
It's
Where's your
against their
Indian
false
language?
religious
Where's your
philosophy.
Indian
It's against
language,
their
Mike?
way of
Mike,
Garveyism.
Mike,
These
where's your
Umarians,
Indian language, Mike?
Utopian
Mike,
pretending.
Man.
where's your Indian
Oh
language?
yes, they
Mike,
love
Hey,
them
y'all
from
got
Bush
to
babies.
start
Go
doing
Go ahead and
background
tap
check,
dance for
man.
the Bush
This guy's
babies.
not a.
I like the
He's
way
not
you
a
He's
Black
dance, boy.
American, man. He's not a.
Where's Indian language? He doesn't have any
This
Indian
guy's not a
language.
Black American. Yeah, I got to start doing
He's
the
a
background
fake
check.
elbow. He's a fake elbow. He's an elbow. He
Hey, you
hates
know
his
what?
skin.
Hey, you know, being black, I think this guy might be half black, half Mexican. Because every time I talk about Mexican, he get like he get really upset about. I don't know why.
Man,
might, you know-
look, Mike TV hates black anything, a black TV, a black car. He doesn't like nothing black.
Hey, he's not fully black, man. I'm telling you, man. You got to do a background check, man. This guy's not fully black.
Full of self-hate. Just full of self-hate.
But is there
Because
such thing as being fully
this
black?
is my second time. My second time we coming on this panel and we was talking about Mexican, and this guy just just started interrupting, and so I'm thinking he might be half Mexican as well.
I understand, but the whole thing, him dropping all the the slurs and everything.
Guys, this has turned
He's
into
going
the Mike
against
TV
Mike.
show. For the next 30 minutes now, they're going to debate my
Man, this guy,
ethnic
man.
makeup.
This guy-
Watch,
hey, go
guys.
kill yourself,
Mike
man. Go
TV
kill
is so
yourself,
sensational. Mike TV is the talk of the town. Just
My
watch.
TV is an apple. I believe in abolism. Stop it, man. Stop it.
Oh,
I know,
man.
Dante. I
hate this guy on this
apologize.
panel,
Every
man.
time I
you
come
show up-
through, it
every
gets
time you show
derailed,
up on
and
this
these
panel,
niggas just
man,
start
nothing-
ranting
nothing-
about Mike for the next 2 hours. I know.
Nothing gets done, man. Nothing-
Crazy.
I've
Oh,
said this many
man,
times
this
before.
guy.
And then when Mike leaves, the whole conversation ends, and then the stream just ends more often than not.
Fuck, dude.
Bye bye, Mike.
For Mike TV.
Yeah, fuck off, man. Fuck off, man. Nobody wants you here, man. Fuck off.
Hey, Mike, quick question. Are you a Native American?
American Indian, yes.
He's an Indian.
He ain't no Indian. He's not an Indian, man. He doesn't know how to make any Indian hair pieces. He doesn't, he never
This is
seen
a black
moccasin
partner,
in his
man.
life.
Why is
My
the Indian
tribe
showing
doesn't
up?
make
Why is the
Indian
Indian showing
hair
up here?
pieces, you
Shut
dumbass
up. Yeah,
Pan
yeah.
goofy fuck
But
nigga.
you don't know how to make any hair
If you're
pieces,
such a
man.
Pan-African, why don't you go to
You
Africa?
don't know how to do any smoke
Riddle me
signals.
that.
I have a question.
When the last time you made a smoke signal, Mike?
And guess what, guys?
But I have a
When I
question.
say I'm an
What can he
American
be?
Indian, I don't need
Mike,
to make
Bye,
Mike
fuck
knows-
off, bitch.
to
Mike don't know
prove
any rain
my
dances.
ethnic group. I can
He
just
doesn't
show my
speak the
tribal
language.
citizenship card.
Mike, you
Dumb
haven't
nigga.
done.
Can you
Guess
speak
what?
the language?
Chance
Can you
is a
speak the
Igbo
language?
Nigerian.
Oh,
Can you
That's
speak the
not a
language? Can you speak the
recognized
language? Can
tribe.
you
They
speak the
don't have
language?
any kind of
Can you
status
speak
with
the
the
language,
government.
bitch?
That's
You
just
can't
some
speak the
Bush
language.
babies
Man,
clicked
fuck
up
off, man.
together. These Pan Goofies,
He might
these Pan
have
Goofies are
3%
listed as
Indian.
domestic
He might have.
terrorists.
Nah,
If he
bro.
got a
Be a
card, if he got a
Pan-African.
card,
No,
he might
no,
have
no.
3% Indian.
Domestic
in him.
terrorism labels
They let
on
him
all
get a
these
card.
pseudo
They let him
cult
get a
niggas.
card if they got
But
3%
me,
Indian.
oh
in him.
yes.
He
My
got 3%.
documents, my census record,
He got
my
3%.
status is American Indian.
He's
While
a
these dumb
3%er.
niggas go by
He's
misnomers
a
like black.
3%er. He's a
This man
3%er.
goes by a crayon color.
Hey, Mike got
The
the paperwork.
government
He legit.
recognizes big black as a
He's a
fucking
3%er.
crayon color, and they recognize me as an American Indian.
He's a 3%er.
I take that
All
over
right,
crayon
Mike.
color any
All
day of the week,
3%er.
dumb nigga.
All right, 3%er. Go
All
ahead.
right,
Go.
bye bye, bitch.
You know what I'm saying? Bye bye, 3%er. Are you on the reservations, Mike?
Are you in Africa, Big Black?
Not on the reservations.
Have you ever been to Africa, Big Black?
Have you ever been to the reservations?
Do you even want to visit Africa, Big Black?
Do you want to even
Do you
visit
even want
the
to spend a
reservations?
weekend there?
Do you want to speak a week at the reservations?
How about you and Chance meet up? How about you guys do a meet
How-
and greet, and he
How
can walk
about you try to go get a
the
casino?
shithole shanty village
How-
in Nigeria,
How about
and
you
you
try to
can
go
then
get a?
see
You
whether
have
or not you want to live in the motherland. Because
why are you trying to steal
weird
Mike,
where these Pan-Africans don't never want to be in Africa, huh?
Do you pay
The
tax,
only
my man?
time
Do you
these
pay tax?
Pan-Africans
Mike
want to
TV?
try to act like
you pay
they
tax?
got something in
Last time I
common
checked,
with an
Indians-
African.
I love that you trying to be an Indian, Mike.
Hey,
Live
Ben Black,
StreamYard with them, okay?
last time I
You don't
checked,
want to
the
go to
Indians,
Africa.
the Indians don't
You
pay
have
no
no
tax.
African culture. You have
Yeah,
no African.
Oh, man,
Mike
this guy.
pays taxes, so he's not an Indian.
Big
He's really not an Indian.
African food. He does not wear African
Mike,
headdresses. But
Mike,
this nigga
so
so
grandma-
native
Hey, do you pay
what?
tax, my man? Do you pay tax?
Let
Do you
me
pay tax?
let me guess, Mike. Your grandma told you was Indian, huh? My grandma said you was Indian.
Hey, last
Grandma
time I
lied
checked,
to
man,
you,
the
boy.
Indians don't pay tax, man.
Grandma
Don't pay
lied
tax.
to you, boy. Grandma told you was Indian. Grandpa ain't told you shit, though. Grandpa ain't said shit. Grandpa said, don't listen to grandma. She's smoking that shit. Grandpa ain't said shit. You always talk about grandma said something.
Yes.
Grandma ain't told you that. Did grandma tell you that? How long you been Indian, Mike? When did
Hey,
you
he's
find
Indian,
out
but
you was Indian?
he's Indian. He's still paying taxes, man. You're not supposed to pay taxes.
Yeah, he's a fake Indian
If you're Indian, you're not supposed to pay any taxes.
with his fake ID.
Hey, let's
Mike giving out fake IDs.
Hold on.
Mike giving out fake
I'm a fake
IDs.
Indian. How do I have an ID? What?
You got
I'm a
fake
Indian
IDs.
with a
You're
fake
a-
ID. Can you
Yeah,
please
you got a
tell
fake
more?
ID. Yeah, I seen that fake
Idris is
ID.
here.
Man, he got fake
Idris,
I
paperwork
seen that
number.
fake
if you're
ID.
late to the
The
show,
paperwork
what
ain't
happened
real.
was
The
I
paperwork
savagely
ain't real.
roasted
It's giving out
the
fake
Pan
IDs.
Africans started running defense for them.
That's Dan
Now
Calloway,
that the
little brother.
Pan-African
That's
is
Dan
running
Calloway, little
defense,
brother.
the
That's
African
Dan
that I roasted
Calloway, little
earlier
brother.
named Mike
With
is
the
talking
fake
his head
IDs,
out
Mike.
from his shanty village.
Mike,
Like,
Hey, you can't
guys were giving you
how's your
you can't
fake
blame
Indian
that guy,
ID?
man. You know,
into the symbiotic
How's your fake
relationship
Indian ID
between
operation
Pan
going, Mike?
Goofy cult members
Mike,
and Bush
how's
baby
your
bitches.
fake
Pan Goofies and Bush baby bitches will forever be linked up hand in hand because that's the only
how's
way
your
they can
fake
keep
Indian
their
ID
family alive.
operation going, Mike?
But shout
How's
out
your
to
fake
Idris.
Indian ID? Show
The
that
Black
fake
Brits
Indian
will have
ID
full
again.
sense. You know, the Black Brits aren't from the continent of Africa. They actually
Man,
have
shut the
education.
fuck
up.
They have
Hey,
resources.
he's not
They have
black, man.
intellect. So
Yeah.
the only African person that I
Mike-
can even have
Mike
a
is-
conversation with is
Mike
a Black
is-
Brit, not
Mike-
no fucking Bush baby
Mike
Nigerian.
is 7 years old on this fake
So what's
Indian
up,
ID.
Idris?
Hey, I thought you were supposed to be gone, man. You're not gonna leave. You're not gonna leave. You're not gonna leave. Indian.
No, because his content getting fucked up. His content getting fucked up because we are
Have a level
exposing this fake
and
Indian.
allow Idris to speak.
He's a
You've been
fake
up here
Indian.
bitching and ranting for 3 hours now. Idris is new to the
3
platform. We'd all love to hear what Idris has to say. Go ahead, Idris.
Wait, Mike is out here charging
No.
$50.
Shut up, Chuck Wu. You're late to
Hey,
the party.
we
Idris is
asked
the
him
next one to
though.
speak.
Hey, shut the
After
fuck up,
Idris,
man.
Yeah,
You're not
it's a
gonna. Hey,
fake
you're not
Indian,
gonna.
man.
try to chime in.
You're a
Or
fake
I
You're not
could
gonna-
just
you're not
say
gonna
get
take-
all you Bush babies
He's a
colonized.
fake
Hey,
Indian.
Idris.
Fake Indian
Hey,
ID.
he's an Indian, but this guy pays some taxes,
I kind
man.
of feel like a colonizer.
And he
more
doesn't,
than that,
he doesn't
even
know
more
any
so,
elbow. We
I feel
have
like
to
having a
speak some elbow.
conversation
He's got a
He
with
doesn't know
Idris
any elbow.
about an ignorant
Fake,
ass.
fake
zesty
Indian pay
Nazi boy
taxes.
How do you-
Wait,
fake
all
Indian
these
pay
niggas
taxes?
are Nigerians. Guys,
How do you say fake elbow Indian?
Nigerians. We got Chuckle up here, Nigerian cosplaying as a Black American. We got Chance up here, a Nigerian cosplaying as a Black American.
Shut the fuck up,
Nigerians,
bitch. You know what I'm
you
saying?
should
Fake
be
Indian.
Indians, I see.
Shut the fuck up,
I
man.
see
You're a
now.
fake
How
Indian.
Embarrass yourself in front of
How-
everybody.
You're a fake Indian.
Fake ass.
Mike doesn't
Indian-
even like
Hey.
cornflakes, man.
Hey,
Mike is
last
up
time
here
I checked,
playing like
man,
he's
Indians-
Mike,
Let-
Mike,
hey,
you not an elbow, Mike.
Momentarily.
You don't like
my
corn.
good brother. I will pay to have a
Shut the
conversation
fuck up, man.
uninterrupted.
Shut the
Kaizo,
fuck up,
go
man.
ahead and
No,
check
shut
your
the fuck up,
notifications.
man.
We're gonna start by kicking out Chuck Wu, and then we'll kick out Chance. First, go ahead
He's
and
mad,
drop
man. He's
Chuck
big
Wu.
mad. Yeah, he's
good
hey,
little
mad.
he's
He
big
mad.
man.
Hey, he really
He's
mad.
mad.
Mike over there mad.
He's big mad,
Elbow
man.
is-
Chucky
Mike over there
Hey,
sparking
he's a-
elbow is.
Chucky D, okay?
Why you mad, bro? Why you mad, bro? Why you big mad?
And you gonna think about your actions
Mike,
like a good
Mike
little
hated
bitch.
something, man.
And then you know what?
Mike
That's
is
what I'm
mentally
for,
wise,
He's big
man.
mad.
well,
He's big
okay.
mad.
We have to get Big Black's dumbass up out of here, okay? So Chucky D,
He's
you're
big
now
mad,
gone.
man.
Kaizo, the super
He's
chat's
big-
already
he's
in the
big
chat.
mad.
I don't know if you're there we
He's
go,
big mad.
Kaizo. There
He's
we
big
go.
mad. He's
There
big
we go,
mad.
Kaizo.
There we
But
go.
that's not it, Kaizo. The
Indian-
next one is
Hey,
Chance.
he's big
Indian
mad.
bless.
Bush
Why you
baby
mad? Why you
Nigerian
mad?
gets Chance to go backstage. Bush baby
Don't
bitch.
let-
Bush baby bitch. Bye bye.
Mike spending big money now. Mike spending that casino money. Mike spending that casino money. All right,
Where
Ammo.
African money is, man.
Come on.
I don't.
And guys, so
Get that.
why is
Free
Chuck
chance.
back? Chuck will go backstage. Chance is now backstage, and now let's throw another 5 for the Pan Goofy to sit backstage with his African cousins. The Pan Goofy can go sit backstage with his African cousins now. Okay, now Idris, you have the floor. Idris, go ahead.
Yeah, fundamentally, I mean, if the Black American people are the ones that know their history better than me, better than anyone else. So if they, whatever they say their heritage is, just follow that. That's what I say. I mean, why on earth are we arguing about it?
Because Africans are obsessed with us. They're literally up here arguing race relations between Black Americans and Mexicans. And then you got the ignorant ass Pan Goofy clowns running defense for the fuck shit. The Pan Goofies are the traitors of the Black community, and the Africans are the succubi. The Africans just want to suck us dry. The only successful Nigerian that we can think of is a fucking Burner Boy, is a Bush baby named Burner Boy, and he's cosplaying as a Black American, is he not?
Yo, Mike TV, I want to ask you something about music, about Black American music.
Hold on. I paid for me and Idris to be able to speak uninterrupted. So if Idris is done with his opening remarks, then you can jump in and ask me a question.
Okay, man.
Yeah, so like I say again, I mean, delineate in absolute peace. I mean, there's no need to persecute, there's no need for all this, infighting as such. And likewise, those who are of the Black American community, as I say and I repeat again, they're the ones that are best placed to teach us what their history is and what their lineage is, pure and simple. And we the African people, we know what our lineage is, and so we should celebrate that and just go our separate ways in peace and in harmony. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I agree, brother. I totally agree. And who had a question for me?
Chuck Wu as well. Hello, Chuck Wu.
Yeah,
all the Nigerians came out to play today.
I was going to ask you about music. Exactly, Black American, American, you know what I mean? I had a question about that.
I'm just gonna.
Hold on. I've got to go soon. I've got another live stream I'm managing right now. But what's your question about Black American music? What?
Don't you think we had a competition? Like we added something, like Africans, people from Caribbean.
Are you asking me if I think Africans have contributed to Black American music?
It's not only that, but we play a big role. Because
no, I do not think Africans play a big role in Black American music. Not at all. Now, if you think Africans play a big role in Black American music, show me evidence of this big role. Where are the huge African singers or rappers in America?
Say, for example, Rihanna, A$AP Rocky. These people from the East Coast, Biggie, Small, these people are making. They achieved a lot, and they. From the outside, basically.
Sir, with all due respect, you named Rihanna and A$AP Rocky. If you take Rihanna and A$AP Rocky out of Black American music, if you Thanos snap, like none of their records ever existed, that would not impact Black American music at all. Let alone significantly.
The many icons that drive music right now are from.
How can you say many icons if you literally name two? And Rihanna hasn't made songs in I don't know how long, and A$AP Rocky is washed up. So I don't know why you're trying to act like they're successful African acts. And isn't Rihanna from Barbados? She's not even a continental African like that. Name the African that is successful in entertainment in America. Oh wait.
No. I was talking about people who are not FBA, and I'm telling you, that's what I'm. The question coming.
Kaizo, can you please highlight a comment in the chat by American Talk Live? It says something about the evidence.
You have many non.
Hold on. I just want to see if Kaizo can highlight this comment real quick. American Talk Live made a comment about evidence. Is Kaizo asleep at the wheel? Is he still here?
I think he's sleeping, but you know,
If I start talking about money, he'll wake up. Kaizo, I got a super chat for you. Kaizo, super chat, cash app.
It's like you throw the meat at the African, and you're just like, that's a racist thing to say.
What is racist? Me saying that I'm going to mention money so that he can wake up? Oh, Mr.
Like,
Krabs, greedy ass Kaizo. It's a joke.
When the white man says, you know, I got food for you, and the Africans all look.
Oh my God, chill. You Africans are so sensitive. You guys are so sensitive. Relax.
No, we're not. We're just explaining that you're doing the same thing, you know.
So me making a joke with my African pal, a joke in which he would have got, understood, and laughed at. Somehow that's me acting like a racist white supremacist. Okay. All right. No, and anyway, since Kaizo's asleep at the wheel, I'll just go ahead and read out the comment that American Talk Live left. American Talk Live said the evidence is the drum beat, Mike TV. American Talk Live, I would love to know if you're an African or a Black American, because that comment is asinine. You're telling me that the evidence of African influence in America is the drum beat? Every culture of people on planet Earth have a drum beat, you fucking ignorant ass imbecile. The Chinese have a drum beat. The Mongols have a drum beat. The Russians have a drum beat. The Europeans, the Slavics, the Nords have a fucking drum beat. The Indians beat on drums. The American Indians beat on drums. What the fuck are you talking about? Acting like Africans invented drum beats and anybody who beats on a drum is participating in African culture. Fuck out of here. Yeah, us Native Americans got the water drum. That don't come from Africa. I've been in the TP participating in indigenous ceremony for 12 hours straight with water drum in the center that ain't got no African influence. Miss me with that shit, you bush baby bitches.
Wait, Mike TV, why you hate everything African? You know, like you just want to be all pure.
Why do you think I hate anything African? I don't hate I don't have enough vested emotionally into Africa or Africans to hate you. Hate is a strong emotion. I don't give a damn about you to hate you. I would love to wake up my community to why we should delineate from you. I think we should highlight your degeneracy and how we've been spreading this notion of Pan-Africanism while you guys practice the opposite of it. But I don't hate you guys. Africans have done great things. If you want me to, I can sing the praises of Africans for 5 minutes straight because I know so much about the rich culture and history of Africa. But modern day Africans on the internet, like these dumb niggas I had to send to the dungeon backstage, those type of Africans I will roast until the end of time. I ain't got no issue with African lecturers, African scholars, African historians. I ain't got no issue with Africans, but these dumbass bush baby bitches, oh yeah, it's up in the stuck.
Mike
Smoke
TV,
365.
I got a question for you. Have you not questioned why they hate you? You know, why these people hate your character, like these Africans? Have you not like thought about why, like? Have you I
don't care what Africans think about me. I want my country to close the border so they can stop sneaking in through Mexico. I don't care about the opinions, the dreams, the wants, the needs of Africans. I want you guys to stay in your country and think about fixing it.
I think I support you on that. Like, I don't think you should. You do you. You know, you think.
But hold on, even though
what is good for your country?
I mean. How many Africans are actually, I mean, if you look at the percentage of Africans coming to the United States through border, it's mainly Latinos, mainly Dominican, mainly Haitian. And
no, the number one demographic right now sneaking through the Mexican border, number one is African, number two is Asian, and number three is South American.
No, it's not. It's not number one, definitely. It's number
one African is impossible.
Yeah, it's not possible.
It's impossible. Share your screen and pull up the stats.
Okay,
you show the stats because you claimed it. You claimed this stat, bro. How about you educate us? You know, because you said
because I've already spent too much time educating you undeserving Africans.
Yeah, but like
because I'm not going to be tasked to educate some ungrateful ass Africans. That's why.
Andre, let me ask Idris a question real quick. Idris,
and there's many Venezuelan and African and Haitian because I mean, first of all, I mean, logistically, it's difficult from to cross from Africa So they have to go through Europe, then they have to go. So it's like to have like a massive migration.
No, specifically what they are doing is they are taking a flight to South America, and after they take a flight to South America, they walk or have coyotes.
So that's fine. But how many? What are the stats? How many?
All of these talks is bullshit. Mike TV is a fake ass mulatto wannabe Indian, and he thinks he speaks for black people. He's a clown. He's an embarrassment. He's a self-hating black person who doesn't even call himself black. He says he claims Muscogee, and he's a mulatto. Why is anybody take him seriously? That's a joke. He's a living joke.
Mike TV, you're all racially ambiguous, and you focus on race. It is actually interesting.
Yeah, Idris, I gotta ask you a question, Idris.
Yeah.
Why did you say that Mike TV is speaking for black folks in America?
He doesn't. He has no authority to speak for anything black. He's half black at best.
One moment. I don't think
in the
I
year
said
2022, there were 6,600 Africans that snuck through the U.S. border. In the year 2022, there were 6,600 Africans that snuck through. In the year 2023, there was over 60,000 Africans. In 1 year, you guys went from 6,000 sneaking into my country to over 60,000.
Okay, how many Latinos?
You want to act like you aren't coming through at an alarming rate.
And how many Latinos?
6,000 to 60,000 is a huge difference.
Hold it. Okay, how many Latinos?
Okay.
Because I know from a city, 30,000 Dominican from just one.
Can I answer my question?
San Francisco arriving to the United States. So I mean, let's look at the stats when it comes to Latino.
Hold on, because I'm African American and I don't agree with Mike TV, so don't lump him.
You're not an African American. You're a pan.
I am an African.
Nigga.
I'm an African American.
Identify accordingly.
I'm an African American and a Pan African.
Shout out to America.
I'm an African American and a Pan African.
You are an apple. I know towards the end of my little comment there, I threw in a Bush baby bitch that was not aimed at you, American Talk Live. That was aimed at the Bush baby bitches on the panel.
All right. Basically, I never said.
You're a clown.
I never said.
You're an
Mike has more white in him than he has abo. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So basically,
he's not black. Man. He's not black.
What I'm saying is
the only defense they have for the onslaught that they're receiving from Mike
is speaking language.
Mike's not black, guys. I mean, I heard he's like,
if you're Indian, can you speak language?
I mean, guys,
which is cool.
He's not black.
You have a slave name. You don't have
the
an
only
Indian
thing
name.
y'all can come with.
Where's your Indian name, Mike TV?
Yeah, I got a tan goofy and 3 ignorant ass Nigerians, and the only retort you can come up with is Mike isn't black. All right,
not black.
It's weird. And you Bush babies are the same ones crying racism.
Don't you think it's crazy that he's claiming Abo and he has more white in him than Indian?
Because he's a joke.
He's a
joke. He's
right. Here's my answer. Look, here's my answer. Here's my answer. Right. The fact of the matter is, it's only the Black American community that can determine their own heritage. It is not for me or for any outsider to determine this for them. That's my point here. I'm not saying.
What I'm saying is, if most African Americans are not claiming Abo, then go with the
no such thing as an African American. You ignorant ass.
It is an African American. It's on the census.
African American.
Yes, it is. It's on the census.
Haitian. Have you heard of an African?
I heard of an African American. Yes, it is. It's an African American.
Have you heard of an African European?
It doesn't matter if I haven't heard of that. I know it's a such thing as an African American.
With racist, eugenics, Nazi-like constructs that were forced on us by anthropologists in the early 1900s.
No, African American.
Pseudo fuck.
African
American does not exist. That is a misnomer.
Yes, no, it is not a misnomer.
Hey, Mike TV. Which Nigerian guy took your girlfriend, man? Can you let us know so that way we can maybe help you go after him or something?
Okay, brothers, can I come in here? I've just got a bit, yeah. So peace to all my brothers out there, yeah.
He likes Philippines.
And Mike TV still goes after that Afrikaner stuff. After Afrikaner lie is a lie.
Nanja boys,
It's a
man.
lie.
Which
So,
Nanja boy go call a girlfriend, dude?
so that Afrikaans list is a lie. So you know what I mean, Mike. So you need to do more research, Mike.
Huh?
All right, brothers, I've just got a tip. So
Mike
peace to you,
TV,
Mike
Mike
TV.
TV.
Peace to all of my brothers, yeah? Mike
Can we
TV,
have
peace
one-
to you. Peace to everybody.
Hey,
I'm
Mike
gonna
TV,
dip.
hold on. Let me say this,
tell
man.
him to fuck up, man.
Idris, peace to you, bro.
Yeah, guys, can I say this about the immigrants, the illegal immigrants? First
Yeah,
of
yeah.
all,
Mike TV.
No, you can't say it, Mike.
That's like, I want to agree with Mike TV. I want to agree with Mike TV that Mike TV was the original owner of the land. Is the indigenous.
Mike TV is an apple,
man.
man.
I'm going somewhere. Allow me, man. I'm going somewhere. So Mike TV. Now, those people that created the United States, those white Europeans, did they come here legally when they came here to come and take your land and turn it to create a United States of America? Did they come here legally? Did they take your permission before coming here to create a country when they migrated from Europe?
Yes, they had our express permission. Yes.
They did? Really?
Nah,
How?
they
Explain
took
it.
y'all shit, man.
It's
They
called
took y'all
treaties,
shit. And you
dumbass.
and
It's
you
called
cannot-
treaties.
you cannot do
When
that.
Columbus came to
After
the
the
Americas, he brokered treaties
that's a
with
lie.
the
Okay,
indigenous
good
people.
answer, good
And I
answer.
can bring up the actual treaty
next
and read it
question.
word for
Okay,
word. It
okay,
was
now I
a
have another
treaty
question.
in 1492, I believe.
Okay,
So
okay.
yes, they
Okay,
came
they did?
here under promises, treaties, rules of engagement,
Okay.
and they broke those treaties. They
Okay.
reneged on their promises. That's what happened.
And
They
what
came
if
here
what
and they
if the
couldn't
people
even
are gonna-
survive
okay,
here.
okay, can I
The
ask you the further
pilgrims were
question? Okay,
dying
wait now. Can I
until
ask you another
American
question?
Indians taught them how to feed themselves, how to clothe themselves for the
Okay.
elements, how
And how
to
to take a
farm,
shit. Okay.
how to hunt.
So basically,
We
they
taught
Wait, let me ask the
Americans
further question, bro. Let me
democracy.
ask another
You
question.
dumbass Africans
Mike,
and tan goofy
Mike,
guys
they
know
can't
that
do nothing.
Americans
hold on.
got
They took that
democracy
shit.
Mike
from
TV,
the
you got the
Native
answer, man.
Americans. Europe
Mike
is in a
TV, I got the
democratic
answer. I got
place.
the answer, man. Let me
How
ask
do you
another
think
question.
that these people who fled oppression
Guys,
in Europe
Can I
came
just
up
ask
with a
him a quick
concept
question?
of democracy? They stole that from the indigenous population.
Okay, fine,
We had
fine.
confederacies
Mike-
such
Mike
as the
not
Iroquois
indigenous.
Confederacy, and
Mike-
they stole that
Mike
and
TV, we
used it
got
to
you,
write the
man.
Bill of
Mike
Rights to our
TV.
Constitution and go from
Hey, Mike
13
TV,
Wait, my
colonies
question,
to
man.
one
Come on now. I thought
republic.
you were so
Mike
smart.
So
man.
maybe you
TV
should
took the
open up a
land from the
history book.
Indians. Mike
Mike
TV
TV,
took
you're
the.
so smart. Why you running from my question, man?
They haven't do shit about it. You know,
Hold on. The next question I'll ask Mike TV is this: how come it took a long time before they decided to make you a citizen of America? Like after they created the country, you were not considered a citizen. It took until I can't remember when, about maybe 100 years or so. I'm not sure before
1865.
those illegal immigrants from Europe came, and then they now made you a citizen later. So the same Europeans, they decided to make you a citizen. If they're the one deciding to make all these Nigerians and all these people a citizens, so
Yeah,
what makes
how did you make the country? How, if you were not citizen at the beginning? you had-
exactly? He wasn't a
Yeah.
citizen.
How is it your country? You know, how is it like your land? You didn't.
I guess you
create the
guys don't
country.
realize
How come you were
that
not
the
a citizen
continent
for so
we know
long?
as America was populated with vast, sprawling civilizations and several different ethnic groups eons before a European or a Spaniard ever
When did you
came
become
over
a
here.
citizen of the
Y'all are
United
up here
States?
talking like some ignorant ass bush baby
But we're
bitch
talking
made
about
white
the United States of
supremacists.
America as a
how were
country,
you
as an
here
entity,
if like the white
constitutionally.
man didn't like label it their own? What the fuck are you talking
No,
about?
Mike
No,
TV,
no,
you
I'm
have
talking about the
more-
American
Nigerians get real
Constitution.
quiet when we mention the fact that Nigeria wasn't
Mike
even
Mike TV,
Nigeria a
you're
short
doing
while
strong
ago,
man
right?
argument. You're
The
shifting
fact
the
that
argument.
Nigerians are named after some European chick,
Well,
right?
that's fine, but
The
we're not
fact
here
that the
to.
Igbo tribe and all these tribes that they claim
Okay,
are so
that's
ancient
fine. That's
really
fine.
are
We
just
get it.
several different tribal
But
groups
we're talking
that got
about your.
forced into different occupation camps. But
Okay,
damn,
okay.
they want to
Mike,
act
see,
like they know
Mike,
something.
Mike.
We're not.
Hold on,
here
Mike
to
TV,
know
Mike.
so anything.
See
Let
how,
me be
see how
quiet so
your,
the bush
see
baby
how
can
your,
educate me on
Mike,
American
see how,
history.
Mike, see how your xenophobia grabbed the attention of Mike TV because you was being xenophobic to Black Americans.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
I'm not being xenophobic. I can't. First of all, I'm
You
not
saying
even,
blacks? We were saying blacks are more
the
racist
only
than
place I can
everybody
be
in
xenophobic
America.
towards you is in Nigeria. That's the only place I can be xenophobic. You know what xenophobic means? Do you know the definition?
Oh, okay. So you're not
I cannot be
Nigerian.
xenophobic to you in America. Come on now. Yo, come on.
Also,
You need
you
to
said,
go back to school, man. Come on. You can go back to school.
were you gang banging Mike in your past?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't need to gang bang, man. I'm above that, you know.
I
I
think
don't
you
need to gang bang to take care of whoever I want to take care of, you know.
I think you were
so-
GD in
I don't need to do all those kind of low IQ things, man. That's you guys' culture. You know?
We know
But
Big
anyway.
Black.
Oh,
people
that was
crack
you
rocks.
guys, you culture. So
ignorant ass hoods.
that was you guys,
We
you
know Big
culture. That's what
Black
I'm saying.
had the corner locked down, huh? Big Black was selling crack rocks since he was 12 years old. Oh,
What?
impoverished Section 8 ass pan goofy.
Here's the deal, though.
What the hell you talking about, Mike TV?
I want to let's address this immigration thing. The fact of the matter is this: no one can deny this. The people that came to create this country, United States of America, were immigrants from Europe. They didn't take permission from anybody. They came in and created the country.
That's false.
So
They had
anybody crossing the border from Mexico
several
or anywhere
treaties, dozens
also has
of
the right.
treaties.
Treaty or no treaty, the fact of the matter is they came in. They didn't need your permission. They also, if it was treaty, why did
They did. They got
But
Native
they-
American permission to settle land, to
How
bring
many-
more people over in certain
Listen to this.
encampments.
how many
Yes.
Native Americans did they kill?
They got
How many
permission.
Trailer
They
tier.
didn't start doing slick shit until they bolstered up their numbers.
But at the end of the day, they did slick
Until
shit.
they
That's
got
what matters.
more and more and more of their people to flee from Europe. Then they started some slick shit. At
Some
first, they
revisionist
came as
ass history.
friends.
Okay.
They came seeking
I don't
permission.
understand why
They
y'all
came
aren't real.
groveling
But
for
the fact of the matter
forgiveness.
is, however they came,
Wait, hold on,
the
Mike.
fact of the
Mike.
matter is, anybody
Mike.
else that's coming now has the right to come in.
Let's establish this.
The land is a stolen land, so everybody, Mexicans, African, whoever is coming in, has the right to come in.
Mike, let's establish this. Mike and Mike TV, you all have similarities. Both of y'all are sellouts.
Okay, that's fine, man. I'm not here to prove anything. I'm just here to.
I'm
We
just
don't
want to make
care
that
about the
clear.
opinion
Hey,
of a
Big Black,
project,
they-
baby.
they-
Big
they-
Black.
I just want
We
to say
don't
that. I
care
just want
the
to say that.
opinion of a
I just wanna
project
say that,
baby
you
who
know,
was
at the end of
raised
the
by a
day,
single mother.
Uh-huh.
Okay, son,
Before you start calling
husband,
Mexicans
it's okay.
racist, just know that Black
I
Americans.
said not all Mexicans are racist. I didn't say Mexicans. I said not all Mexicans are racist. You know
But
what I'm
Black
saying?
Americans are more racist than Mexicans.
No,
Yes,
you still going with that fallacy. That's false.
Yes, if we
You haven't proved anything. You haven't proved that.
But Mike TV has been
See
proving
how
it all day
crazy
long.
this is? The pan goofies want to
Okay.
run defense for the
How many
Africans,
Mexicans can
while
you
the
name online
Africans
that's
are
being
shitting on
racist
Black
online right now?
Americans.
So
saying
anyway.
we're more racist than
No, it's
Mexicans.
not. No,
But the
no, because
Pan-African is still gonna
Mike
try to
TV
ride with
came
the
on
Africans
here.
as the Africans
Actually,
piss
everybody on the
fucking
panel disagreed with Mike
ignorant ass
TV.
pan
It's
goofy.
not-
Big Black.
but
Big Black.
at the
If you-
same
if we-
time, hold
okay,
on, hold
okay,
on,
if you
hold
want to
on.
pull the data right now, if you want to find out who's doing what, let's use the online to figure out which group is doing most racism online.
Hey, Kaizo,
You will find more
put the
you,
Section 8
for every one
project baby
Mexican
pan goofy,
racist
put
or
him in the
every white
dungeon for a
racist
little bit.
channel.
I want the
Get out of
pan
here.
goofy in the
You'll find
dungeon
10
for a
Black
little
American
bit.
racist channel.
A matter
But
of
Black
fact,
Americans are
Anyway,
doing
I
most of the
hate
racism
how
online.
much of a
First of all,
scammer
Mike
these fucking
TV, hold
bush
on,
baby
hold on,
bitch
Mike.
made
Mike
Nigerians are.
TV,
I know
Mike
that
TV
Chance ain't
has
even
some
saying
hate.
nothing.
I
know
don't care,
Chance ain't
Mike.
even saying a
I
word.
don't- hey,
But I
Mike-
want Chance to
Mike-
Nigerian
Mike-
bush baby bitch
Mike
made ass
is being
backstage
xenophobic,
for a little
and
bit.
Mike
Black,
TV is
Black.
being
I'm just
Go
xenophobic.
ahead
pointing out
and
the
get rid
obvious,
of,
man. You
to the
definitely
whole
say
people,
xenophobic,
man.
that's fine. I'm pointing out the
Goofy
obvious.
Section 8
No, you're not
project,
pointing
baby.
out the
So get
obvious.
rid of Chance.
You're being,
pointing out the
you're
obvious. I'm not
just
here
as
calling you names.
xenophobic
I'm not
as Mike
trying to hit
TV.
you at the wheel.
You're
Big
just
Black.
as
Kaizo's
you're just
multitasking.
as
Name one
He's
name
cooking
I'm
up
you're
going
just
to
as
get out
xenophobic
While he
as
does
Mike
the screen,
TV.
he's rolling balls of
Big
dough
Black, Big Black,
as
Big
he
Black.
does the podcast. I know.
What's going on, man? What's
Big
going
Black,
on?
tell me what I
You're
said
very
today is
talented.
xenophobic.
So
Tell
now
me.
I need you to get
Okay,
rid of the pan goofy.
I'll tell you
Get rid
what.
of the bush baby, Kaizo.
I tell you what. Mike TV's talking a lot. Let's
Kaizo
go
was
by
asleep at
one
the
by
wheel.
one.
Kaizo has one
Okay, go
job.
ahead.
And
Go ahead.
Okay.
Tell me I'm
money.
xenophobic.
And
Tell
when
me.
he gets these
I'll tell you
signs,
what,
he is
Mike
supposed to
TV,
act
Mike
in
TV.
accordance
Let's get some
with the
decorum
rules
around
and
here.
guidelines
Mike,
and procedures that have been
Mike,
set forth.
Mike
Kaizo,
TV,
wake
Mike
up.
TV.
Kaizo.
man.
Mike
TV's
TV.
on
I know you're
PCP.
dreaming right now.
He
I know
is
you're
on
dreaming
PCP
Wakanda
though.
Black
Yeah,
Panther
he
like
is on
everybody.
PCP. Mike.
But Kaizo, I need you to wake up and I need you to really
Hey, Mike
the
TV.
presence of the pan
Mike
goofy
TV.
and the African.
Mike,
TV guy,
Mike
man.
TV.
Rid me
You
of the
high on
best
cocaine.
Mike,
Rid me of the
Mike.
best baby bitches, Kaizo.
Yo, Mike,
I've already
who's
sent
that?
my money. I need you to
Who's
make
that?
good
Kaizo,
on your
Kaizo.
word. Make good on your promises, Kaizo.
Wait,
Come
one second,
on.
Mike. I wasn't here.
Get
Who's
rid
that
of Big Black and get rid of Chance.
Mike TV, which Nigerian guy took your girlfriend, man? You so hurt there. You badly hurt, man.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to get rid of those two because
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you, thank
Strictly
you.
Travel had some more things he was trying to say earlier. So Strictly Traveled, I got to get out of here in a couple of minutes. So if you had anything else to say,
Mike TV,
No, I
which
was just,
Nigerian guy took your girlfriend, man? I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry about that, man. You know, Nigeria boy, we just good with the ladies.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah,
I'm
boy.
sorry.
I want to clear something up. The church.
We just good with the ladies, man. I always want these guys.
You're good with romance scams. And thank you for earning Kaizo another $5. Kaizo, kick this Nigerian backstage. I don't know why I thought that we could at least allow one Nigerian up on the panel. But even one Nigerian is too many Nigerians. Get rid of all the Nigerians. We're going to do an ethnic cleansing of sorts. Now go ahead, whoever the brother is who has the Lamborghini steering wheel flexing on us and shit.
I have a question for you. A question was asked about the influence of African music into the actual American music. But what about the Negro spiritual? Wasn't it African influence? No.
What's the African influence of a Negro spiritual?
Well, for what I understood, that it was actually brought by the slave,
And you're assuming that the majority of the slaves that were brought to the U.S. were from Africa.
Where were they from? I'm just trying to understand the majority, where they came from. Because
the first slave trade in the Americas were the indigenous people being shipped to Europe and being shipped to different islands across the Caribbean. The official narrative, if you even Google it right now, the official narrative is only 4% of African slaves went to North America. Most of the African slaves went to Brazil. Over 90% of the African slaves went to the South American region and went to the Caribbean. A tiny, tiny, small, minute percent went to North America. So no, Negro spirituals don't come from Africa because American slaves primarily don't come from Africa. Most of them were American Indians that were reclassified as African, Negro, colored, etc. And this is all evident. There's been multiple laws that the U.S. colonies passed since the 16th century reclassifying Black Indians to African and Negro.
Interesting.
If you weren't aware of that.
Yeah. No, I wasn't. Okay. Good clarification.
Well, hey, hold on, brother.
Sure.
If you weren't aware of it, my audience calls me the king of receipts. And if you honestly weren't aware of it, I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want you to actually see the evidence that I'm talking about. So Kaizo, if you can please share my screen for just a moment, Kaizo. I'm just going to bring up a document that talks about some of the reclassification of the Black Indians to other ethnic groups. Here we go, Kaizo. It's backstage now. So as you can see here, it says Virginia passed 2 acts in 1682 that combined Native Americans and Africans into one category.
Mike, the other Mike put the $5 to put you in the back.
Yeah, he put it on your head, bro. Okay, I just want to say there were points where
Native Black American and a proud member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. Help me help you discover your roots with a personalized genealogy consultation. Paper trail genealogy matters. DNA tests can't prove ethnicity or tribal affiliation. You must search through paper records to dive deep into your family heritage. During the meeting, I will teach you how to navigate the genealogy process with ease. You'll learn how to link tribal affiliation with your ancestors, and I'll show you the step-by-step process I went through to gaining tribal citizenship. Take the first step to unlocking your past. To book a consultation, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com.
The Flicks Tape. They have no future as they have no past. Tomorrow as today, slavery will be their only possible privilege.
We gods, man. We kings, man. We lords.
I was born black, I live black, and I'm gonna die probably because some cracker that knows I'm black better than you, nigga, is probably gonna put a bullet in the back of my head.
This is the remix. My father was raised in the era when black niggas couldn't claim Native American.
Aborigines, which means what? Black folks. But you never find a white aborigine. Rather, aborigines are called natives, or they're always dark-skinned people. You and I are aborigines, but you don't like to be called an aborigine. You want to be called an American. Aborigine actually means from the beginning. 2 Latin words, ab meaning from, origine meaning the beginning. Great shock.
around the age of 5 or 6 or 7, to discover the flag to which you have pledged allegiance, along with everybody else, has not pledged allegiance to you. It comes as a great shock to discover that Gary Cooper killing off the Indians when you were rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you, that the Indians were you. It comes as a great shock to discover that the country, which is your birthplace, and to which you owe your life and your identity.
Remember that big Indian dude in that movie? Mm-hmm. He was cool. And then he couldn't talk unless he was talking about gum? Yeah.
You know, I think you're not supposed to say Indian either.
No way, really?
Yeah. I think you're supposed to call them African Americans.
Oh, you're shoemakers now. And more importantly, you're a person of color. You're no longer a Nipmuc person. And that shows through in these county histories and also in the census records at the time. You find a person described in the 1860 census as an Indian. In the 1870 census, they're described as a person of color or a colored person. Same person, but the census taker, as part of the white dominant society, decides that this person is no longer Nipmuc.
Since y'all always screaming about DNA, watch what the biology professor says about DNA. Watch this.
Smith's breakdown from Ancestry showed 97% European and 2% Asian.
I'm a black girl. I am not a Jewish white lady. I'm black. My parents were black.
She contacted Ancestry with questions, but says a rep told her the results are accurate.
These DNA tests for ethnicity are entertainment value only.
William Gilliland is a biology professor at DePaul. He says DNA kits can be great for connecting family members and finding relatives, but the science for ethnicity testing isn't as concrete.
There's nothing that confident for ethnicity. There's no diagnostic nucleotide. You can say this person is from Europe, this person's from Africa.
You see that? DNA can't tell you where you're from. A scholar tells the truth. Watch this.
But many African Americans, you are the Native Americans. You're not even African Americans, you're Native Americans. You're the ones that they brought blankets with, was it smallpox or whatever diseases, and wiped out entire communities because they said they came in peace, but they actually came in war. And they are still warring us right until this day. So there are those beloveds of you who really don't feel any connection to Mama Africa. And this is just, you know, a confirmation, a reassurance that America belongs to you.
So Africans know this history, but nobody else does. Come on, make it make sense.
In me. And so with the help of my wife, we extracted enough saliva to send off in the mail. We were so excited to see the results. After about 3 months, we were shocked. My lizard was 51% Ashkenazi Jewish. He was also 48% West Asian. This was really interesting. They also gave us a little bit of his background and his history, what he liked to eat, etc. Let us know which animal's DNA we should send in next.
You don't have to try to be something you're not.
Trying to be something I'm not? Trying to be proud of my African heritage? That's being something I'm not, then fine.
My grandmother was a full-blooded Iroquois.
I know all of that, Mama.
They don't know this. I am alive because of the blood of the people who never scraped or begged or apologized for what they were. They asked only one thing of this world, to be allowed to be.
It broke my heart when you changed your name. I gave you my grandmother's name, a woman who bore 9 children and educated them all. Who held off 6 white men with a shotgun when they tried to drag one of her sons off to jail for not knowing his place. And you had to reach into an African dictionary to find a name that would make you proud.
My father was raised in the era when black niggas couldn't claim Native American. Making music would've thought I had help, but the Indians I know wanna be the chief they self.
To know, Mike is the real deal. His information is real. He's a humble brother, and he's all about the information. He's not about, personal gain or personal applause, personal credit. This is about our nation. It's not about one individual, but it's about us collectively as a people. And Mike is all about that, So we stand behind the brother 100%.
If you have any doubt, get it out your head immediately. So yeah, I'm going to continue to work with Mike as much as I can. So I want to say thank you, Mike, for actually taking the time out and talk with me and my husband. You definitely informed us on a lot of things. And the people out there that's watching, he will also inform you on a lot of things that you may not even know about. So I want to say thank you again, Mike.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, smash the like button on the way in. Share the video if you can. Hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission. And let's get into the content. You're going to learn about something that you definitely were not taught in school. Let me get a 0 in the chat if you have never heard of Lincolnia. Lincolnia. Abraham Lincoln never liked black folks. Abraham Lincoln despised black folks. Abraham Lincoln did not want free black people in America, so he devised a plan with plantation owners to ship us as colonists to Haiti or Panama, to a place called Lincolnia. Let's go ahead and get into it. I'm seeing a lot of 0s in the chat. Y'all ain't never heard of it. This is what I'm here for, to give you the real deal, the real spiel. We're going to dig into that history that people don't want to touch for some strange reason. When we talk about Abraham Lincoln, first and foremost, let's set the record straight. There's a good chance that Abraham Lincoln did not free your ancestors at all. If your ancestors were freedmen, previous slaves of Native American tribes, then did you know that the black slaves of Native American tribes were not freed by Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation in 1863? Did you know that Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation proposal in 1863 only freed slaves in U.S. territory, and technically tribal lands is not U.S. territory? So although a lot of blacks in America became free starting in 1863, the black slaves were not free until the Treaty of 1866. And excuse me, I pull up so many receipts and so many different treaties. Right now, we're looking at the wrong treaty. We're looking at the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek. Give me just a moment while I pull up the Treaty of 1866. Where's that treaty at? Where is that treaty? The Treaty of 1866. Normally, I've got a PDF version of it, but you know what? This might be it. And you guys should definitely look up the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek as well. But here we go. The Treaty of 1866. This was even published in the Worcester Evening Gazette. March 6th, an important treaty between the Creek Nation and the United States was signed Saturday afternoon. The Creeks, among other important stipulations, cede the west half of their domain, admit their emancipated Negroes to equal and civil rights, and grant the right-of-way of a construction of a railroad through their country. Guys, the Emancipation Proclamation did not free any slave that was held by a tribe. The Treaty of 1866 did. So you can miss me with that Lincoln is a benevolent savior of black people. Furthermore, people don't realize Lincoln was a racist. Lincoln despised Aboriginal people. He despised black folks. Y'all ain't never heard of Lincolnia for this reason right here. Most people don't want you to know that Abraham Lincoln has blood on his hands. That's not an exaggeration. Let's get into it, y'all. We're going to do some reading now because reading is oh so fundamental.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.
Come on, y'all. Let's talk about it. Let's do a little bit of reading, shall we? Lincoln to slaves, go somewhere else. That's right. He was such an ally of black folks, right? Come on. Lincoln, as early as 1862, was setting aside federal funding to deport freedmen, to deport Native Black Americans, to send them elsewhere. This is what Lincoln was trying to do. It says the issue of slavery divided the country under Abraham Lincoln's presidency. The national argument was simple: either keep slavery or abolish it. But Abraham Lincoln, known as the Great Emancipator, may have also been known as the Great Colonizer when he supported a third direction to the slavery debate: move African Americans somewhere else. Oh yeah, let's get into it. Long before the Civil War, in 1854, Lincoln addressed his own solution to slavery at a speech delivered in Peoria, Illinois. Quote, "I should not know what to do as to the existing institution of slavery. My first impulse would be to free all the slaves and send them to Liberia, to their own native land." Peep game, y'all, peep game. What does the next passage say? While Lincoln acknowledged this was logistically impossible. Wait a minute, hold on, foul on the play. You want us to believe that millions of Africans were packed like sardines in slave ships and trafficked to North America during the 15th and 16th centuries, but now it's 1854, and you're saying it's logistically impossible to send black folks from America to Africa? Whoa, guys, I don't think you understand how profound that is that we just read. This debunks their whole transatlantic slave trade theory. We know they now say that only 4% of the slaves came to North America. Guys, this is why. What is going on here? How are we supposed to believe that millions of African slaves went to the 13 colonies, and you're telling me in 1854 it's logistically impossible to send blacks from America to Africa? Oh shit, y'all. They fucked up. They didn't think somebody like Mike TV would come along and piece the puzzle pieces together like this, right? It says, while Lincoln acknowledged this was logistically impossible, by the time he assumed the presidency and the Civil War was underfoot, the nation was in such duress that he tried it anyways. They don't teach you this in school, do they? They don't teach you that Lincoln didn't give a damn about black people, and he tried to deport us like we were some fucking immigrants. He tried to deport us after we built this country. Damn, the word deportation and Lincoln, I've never heard it used in a sentence before until this broadcast. Riddle me that. By early 1861, Lincoln ordered a secret trip to modern-day Panama to investigate the land of a Philadelphian man named Ambrose Thompson. Thompson had volunteered his land as a refuge for free slaves. The peep game, y'all, peep game. This is some crazy fucking shit. This is gonna make y'all mad. Listen to this. The slaves would work in the abundant coal mines on his property. The coal would be sold to the Navy, and the profits would go to the freed slaves to further build up their own land. Motherfucker, this is slavery with extra steps, isn't it? Oh, hey, we're going to emancipate you and you're free, and then we're going to deport you to Panama so you can go work in coal mines, and then you're going to sell that coal to the Navy, and we promise we're going to pay you someday. What the fuck are you talking about? Put a 1 in the chat if this is your first time hearing this. This is why you subscribe to Mike TV. This is why you hit the bell notification and you tune in when I go live, because you're going to learn something new. The slaves would work in the coal mines on his property. The coal would be sold to the Navy, and the profits would go to the free slaves to build up their new land. Nah. We ain't falling for it. Let's take a look, y'all. Let's take a look. And yes, Tech Phoenix, great point. Why was it a secret plan if we're not native? Exactly. Y'all are piecing it together. Lincoln sought to test the idea on the small slave population in Delaware, but the idea met fierce opposition from abolitionists when it went public. In April 1862, Lincoln was still of the mind that emancipation and deportation was key. They want to tell us Lincoln, emancipation, the proclamation, emancipation. No. The next word after emancipation was deportation. He thought he should free us, take all of our free labor, and then deport us somewhere else to go colonize a foreign land. Emancipation and deportation was the key to a peaceful United States. He supported a bill in Congress that provided the money. Quote, to be expended under the direction of the President of the United States to aid in the colonization and settlement of such free persons of African descent now residing in said district, including those be liberated by this act, as may desire to emigrate to the Republic of Haiti or Liberia or such other country beyond the limits of the United States as the President may determine. Guys, what happened? I thought we're African Americans. I thought we come from Africa. If they really thought we were natives of Africa, they should be talking about sending us back to our native homeland of Africa. But that's not what they're proposing. Remember, guys, they said it would be logistically impossible to send us to Africa. So he says, we can send them to Haiti or Liberia or anywhere but here. But if we're really natives of Africa, he would have wanted to send us back to our motherland. And if they put together federal funds to send us back to our motherland, our ancestors would have went if it was our motherland. But guess what? It wasn't. Our ancestors wasn't falling for that shit. They were standing on lineage. This is a newspaper article from Kansas City, Missouri. Disenfranchise the Negro and send him back to Africa? Absurd, impossible. More than $1 billion worth of United States real estate he owns in his own name in the United States is not easily to be taken from him. Besides, the Negro is not an African. He is an American. African is a misnomer. Why try to send him to a country which is not his own? Our ancestors knew we wasn't from no goddamn Africa. Our ancestors wasn't trying to get deported or immigrate or any fancy words for kick us out of our native land. We wasn't going for it, not in the slightest. This would become the final portion of the D.C. Emancipation Act. In August of 1862, Lincoln invited 5 prominent black men to the White House. The first black delegation invited on such terms. Guys, the first time the President of the United States ever invites black people to the fucking White House is to try to convince us to get deported somewhere else. Let me say that again because you didn't hear me. The first time the president ever invites black leaders to the White House is to try to convince them, to convince their constituents to go somewhere else. Yeah, they didn't teach you this in school, did they? Lincoln invited the 5 prominent black men to the White House, the first black delegation invited on such terms. The topic was simple: that whites and blacks cannot coexist, and that separation is the most expedient means to peace. Lincoln encouraged these 5 men to rally support for their exodus. Basically, hey, black leaders, I need you to go get them black folks on code with you. I'm going to tell you what to tell them, and I need you to convince all those freed slaves to go to fucking Panama or Haiti or Liberia or some shit. You need to get them on board. Wow. Interesting. The intent is even echoed in the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation. Quote, guys, before I read this quote, this is what the original Emancipation Proclamation document said, quote, that the effort to colonize persons of African descent with their consent upon this continent or elsewhere will be continued. Originally, it wasn't just no Emancipation Proclamation, it was an Emancipation Deportation Proclamation. Come on. Near the same time, the results of Lincoln's investigation into the lands proved the coal there was worthless. And there was also the small matter that Costa Rica claimed ownership of part of Thompson's land. The next area considered was a small island off the coast of Haiti. Oh, Lord, guys. And this is why y'all call me the king of receipts, because although we're reading from some archive.gov website, right? Although we're reading from this governmental source, we got to look at multiple sources, because watch us switch to another source, and this other source is going to give us even more nuance. Let's take a look. It says here, since the early 1850s, Lincoln had been advancing colonization as a remedy for the gradual emancipation of the nations enslaved. While he strongly opposed the institution of slavery, he did not believe in racial equality or that people of different races could successfully integrate, and unleashing nearly 4 million Black people into white American society, North or South, was a political non-starter. So despite the fact that most Black Americans in the 1850s have been born on U.S. soil, Lincoln advocated shipping them to Central America, the Caribbean, or, quote, back to Africa. Come on. And yeah, shout out to John's Wilkes Booth, okay? Come on, y'all. Send them anywhere. Send us anywhere. They just don't want us here in America after we built America, right? He said, quote, if as the friends of colonization hope, we succeed in freeing our land from the dangerous presence of slavery, and at the same time in restoring a captive people to their long-lost fatherland, Lincoln said during his eulogy for statesman Henry Clay in 1852, quote, it will indeed be a glorious consummation. Oh yeah, he thinks deporting us is glorious, y'all, but Lincoln was supposed to be our ally. I heard he was supposed to be our friend. Lincoln saw colonization as a practical solution to the millions freed by the Emancipation Proclamation, wrote Jamie Ruth Spencer, a scholar of the Isle Avache effort. Guys, you're learning here on tonight's broadcast, they've got multiple efforts. Lincolnia was the first name of the first colony he proposed where they was going to do the coal mining shit, right? What he ended up going with is Isle Avache, which means Cow Island. Peep game, y'all. This isn't a conspiracy. You can look this up on your own. This is some crazy shit. And Lincoln has blood on his hands. He sent some of us to die. This story is going to get worse, and it ain't never going to get better. Let's take a look. Thus, the proclamation would satisfy those who wished for emancipation of the Negro, as well as those who feared that the freed slave would overrun the North. The Haiti experiment. Nearly a month before he signed the contract with Koch, during his second annual message to Congress, Lincoln had proposed a constitutional amendment to colonize African Americans outside the United States. The amendment included federal compensation for slave owners who lost their human property due to emancipation. So not only did this greasy ass scumbag European motherfucker wanted to emancipate, then deport us, he wanted to give reparations to the slave owners. What? He wanted to cut a check to the slave owners because we were going to get free and then get deported. But we can't get no reparations in 2024, huh? But they giving out reparations packages to the slave owners. Riddle me that. Truth is stranger than fiction, ain't it? Looking for proof of concept, Lincoln settled on Koch's Isle Avache proposal after serious consideration of another colonization plan that would have sent freed Black Americans to the province of Panama. That was the first plan we heard about, where they was going to do the coal mining, right? Now let's hear the new plan that Lincoln goes with. He says the coal mining, nah, the coal was worthless. Let's go with Koch's plan. This is Koch's plan, guys. This is how Lincoln is going to free us and be a hero and save the day. In Koch's plan, the former slaves would work on a cotton plantation. Did y'all hear that? In Koch's plan, the former slaves would work on a cotton plantation. Each family would receive homes and access to hospitals and schools. And after the end of their 4-year work contracts, they would be given 16 acres of land and the wages they had learned over that period. Motherfucker, this is slavery with extra steps. This is slavery with a boat ride. What the fuck are we talking about? Lincoln has a plan to send us to Haiti, where we're going to work on a cotton plantation for free under the guise that we're going to get paid and get acres of land one day, maybe, possibly. But Lincoln was a hero, huh? Lincoln was an ally. Each family would receive homes and access to hospitals and schools, and after the end of their 4-year work contracts, they would be given 16 acres of land and the wages they had earned over that period. Colonization was voluntary for former slaves, but deeply encouraged by Lincoln, Koch, and his many other proponents. Oh, hey, it's going to be voluntary, but the president is really trying to motivate y'all to go somewhere else. Hey, the president just did something crazy. He just invited black leaders to the White House for the first time ever. Oh, really? What were they discussing? Oh, Lincoln was trying to make the black leaders convince Native Black Americans to get deported somewhere else. All right. All right. Quote, "The intelligent Negro may enter upon a life of freedom and independence, conscious that he has earned the means of livelihood," Koch wrote in his proposal, "and at the same time discipline himself to the duties, the pleasures, and the wants of free labor." Yeah, it's free labor because you're getting free labor. We're working for IOUs. We're working for free for 4 fucking years under the guise that we're going to get some land and some money 4 years later. Look at what they was doing to our ancestors post-Emancipation Proclamation. Lincoln met with black leaders to debate colonization. The colonization movement was never popular with most African Americans and abolitionists. Quote, "Shame upon the guilty wretches that dare propose and that countenance such a proposition," wrote Frederick Douglass, the famed abolitionist orator and publisher, in his newspaper, The Negro Star, in 1849. "We live here, we have lived here, we have a right to live here, and we mean to live here." Come on. Our ancestors were standing on business. Frederick Douglass himself said, "How dare you even propose such a notion? We gonna stay right here, playboy. We gonna stay right here." And this is why y'all call me the king of receipts. I actually have the original newspaper clipping of what Frederick Douglass wrote in his newspaper in January 22, 1852. I got to live up to my name of the king of receipts, don't I? I take that title seriously, haven't you noticed? Let's go ahead and read the full article. Frederick Douglass wrote, January 22nd, 1852, all rights for all, the colonization scheme. Frederick Douglass was blowing the whistle. Frederick Douglass was saying, hey, watch out. They're devising a colonization scheme. He says in this newspaper article, there is no sentiment more universally entertained nor more firmly held by the free colored people of the United States than that this is their own native land. Hey, Umar Johnson, I know you really want to dick ride the legacy of Frederick Douglass, but did you know that Frederick Douglass not only has Native American heritage, but he spoke very openly and publicly in his own newspaper about the United States being our own native land? Damn, truth is stranger than fiction, ain't it? Frederick Douglass was standing on business, wasn't he? He says there is no sentiment more universally entertained nor more firmly held by the free colored people of the United States than that this is their own native land, and that here, for good or for evil, their destiny is to be wrought out. identified with the entire history of the American people going back more than 200 years, this sentiment is natural and praiseworthy. There is not now, nor never has been, and we think there will never be any general desire on the part of our people to immigrate from this land to any other, and least of all to the wilds of Africa. Damn, Frederick Douglass was standing on business, wasn't he? He said there will never be any desire on any part of our people to immigrate from this land to any other, least of all to the wilds of Africa, least of all. He said out of all the places, the last place we gonna go is the fucking African bush. What you talking about? The least. You see why they don't teach you this in history class, right? You see why the only way you learn about the colonization scheme and the emancipation deportation is if you get lucky to have the algorithm push this live stream your way. Shout out to all the people watching the replay. This is wild. This is crazy. And now we got people like Umar Johnson using Frederick Douglass's name in vain, disparaging his legacy by pushing this Pan-African shit. When Frederick Douglass and all the free folks of color said, we ain't going to no goddamn Africa. Let's continue reading, guys. Reading is oh so fundamental. Hit the like button on the way in, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission. Shout out to Dara. Dara just sent a Cash App and said, thank you for the gems. I appreciate the contribution. Thank you for sliding something in the brown paper bag, Dara.
Brown paper bag. Brown paper bag.
Let's get back into the content, y'all. Reading is oh so fundamental. It says the colonization movement was never popular with most African Americans and abolitionists. Shame upon the guilty wretches that dare propose and that countenance such a proposition, wrote Frederick Douglass, the famed abolitionist, orator, and publisher, in his newspaper, The North Star, in 1849. And notice how they just leave out so much of history. Notice how they just say, oh, shame on them. That ain't all that Frederick Douglass said. Nah, Frederick Douglass said, we ain't got no desire to leave, least of all go to Africa, the wilds of Africa. Yeah, Frederick Douglass said way more in this newspaper clipping than what the History Channel is telling us. Come on. On August 14th, 1862, Lincoln met at the White House delegation of Black leaders to make his case for the voluntary immigration of African Americans to countries outside the U.S. Listen to this slick, disrespectful shit right here. Lincoln invites Black folks to the White House for the first time, and this is what he tells them in the White House. Quote, your race suffers from living amongst us, while ours suffers from your presence. It is better for us both, therefore, to be separated, Lincoln told the delegation. Damn, I thought Lincoln was an ally, y'all. I thought Lincoln was writing for Black folks, y'all. Damn, okay. All right. Lincoln said, we suffer from being around y'all. Y'all suffer from being around us. Let me ship y'all to Haiti one time. Convince all you Black folks to go to Haiti for me, please. And guess what? He did ship hundreds of Black people to the island of Haiti. And guess what? It ended disastrously. Let's see what happened. Let's see what happens when Lincoln has an emancipation deportation plan and he gets a bunch of money together to ship us to Haiti. Let's see how that went. But before we get into that peep game, y'all, it says right here, Douglass, who wasn't invited. Guys, I wonder why Abraham Lincoln didn't invite Frederick Douglass to the White House. It's because them other dudes that he invited must have been some coons. They must have been down with the get down. Frederick Douglass did not get an invite to the White House, y'all. I wonder why. Because Frederick Douglass was standing on business, wasn't he? When you stand on business, you don't get an invite to have tea and crumpets at the White House, do you? Douglas, who wasn't invited and who read about the meeting in a newspaper, wrote in his Douglas Monthly that the proposal, quote, reminds one of the politeness in which a man might try to bow out of his house some troublesome creditor or the witness of some old guilt. Damn. Basically, they trying to usher black people about the country because they guilty, because they know we free, and they know we might seek rectification, punitive damages. They want to get us elsewhere. Colonists set out for Isle Avache, aka Cow Island. Lincoln was undeterred by these complaints from Douglas and other African American leaders. On April 14, 1863, the vessel Ocean Ranger departed from Fortress Monroe, Virginia, with 453 hopeful African American immigrants on board, headed to Isle Avache. And guys, we all know when we're in the 1800s and they're calling us African Americans, we all know that's a misnomer. We all know that our ancestors, even in their own Black-owned newspapers, said African is a misnomer. We're not Africans. We're Americans. We're not from Africa. We all knew this. We all know since 1682, they were reclassifying Black Indians as African, Negro, and other slaves. So don't get it twisted. When you see texts or history documents talking about African Americans, they're talking about us Native Black Americans. Because if we were really from Africa, then our ancestors would have took the first ticket back home to go back to the motherland. It says the Ocean Ranger departed from Fortress Monroe, Virginia, with 453 hopeful African American immigrants on board, headed to Isle Avache. The mission proved an unmitigated failure from the start, according to Graham Welch, an historian and attorney. By the time the Ocean Ranger reached Isle Avache in early May, at least 30 of its Black passengers have died from smallpox. Come on, y'all. Come on. He got a plan to deport us, and on the first trip out, 30 of us are dying before we even get to the island. A second ship, which was supposed to follow the Ocean Ranger with building and living supplies, never set sail. Abraham Lincoln has our ancestors' blood on his hands. He deported us. He tried to convince us to do some voluntary colonization shit, and he sent us to die. Over 30 of us died on the boat ride over, and he said he was going to send a second ship with supplies, and it never set sail. Koch, the self-appointed superintendent of the island, had misled the government and the Black settlers about the living conditions. On a visit to the island, a government official found the African-American settlers with tears, misery, and sorrow pictured in every countenance. Instead of the homes they were promised, the family slept on the ground in small huts made of palmetto and brush. Koch offered wages in a self-printed currency, which workers were obliged to spend on exorbitantly priced foods and goods in a kind of company shop. There was also a no work, no rations policy. When the immigrant workers threatened revolt, Koch fled. Guys, this sounds like slavery to me. You do an emancipation proclamation, a pseudo emancipation proclamation that's really meant as an act of deportation, and you send us to go work on a cotton plantation in Haiti under the guise that we're going to work for free for 4 years, and then after 4 years, we're going to get 16 acres and all this money. When we get there, we're living in mud huts, basically. We are getting paid in some pseudo currency that we have to spend on overpriced food and goods, and if we don't work, we don't get food. That is slavery with extra steps. Y'all do realize that's just slavery with extra steps, right? Come on. Abandonment of Isle Avache and the failure of colonization. By the summer of 1863, news of the inhumane conditions in Isle Avache reached Lincoln, who confided in Union Army Chaplain John Eaton that, quote, the Negroes in the Cow Island settlement on the coast of Haiti were suffering intensely from a pest of jiggers, from which there seemed to be no escape or protection. Guys, jiggers is sand fleas. Jiggers are sand fleas that people on islands can get, people in island climates can get. He sent them to do a new form of slavery, or indentured servitude, if you will. Over 30 of them died on the boat ride over. They never sent the ship with the supplies that were supposed to follow them. And then it turns out the people are dying from sand flea diseases. On February 1st, 1864, the president ordered his Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton, to commission a naval vessel to rescue the Isle of Aceh group. A month later, the Navy's Marcia C. Day carried the 350 surviving immigrants back to America. Guys, how many immigrants left and how many returned? Who's been paying attention? Let's do a little pop quiz. Go ahead and post in the chat if you remember, what was the number, what was the approximation of freed people of color that they deported to Haiti? What was it? Was it 100? Was it 200? Was it 300? Was it 400? What was it, y'all? Does anyone have an answer? Does anybody have an educated guess? Let's see. And while we wait to see if anybody has an educated guess, let me see who we got in the chat. We got American Black Holocaust survivor in the building. Nice to see you. Kelly, nice to see you as always. Dara, thank you again for the contribution. Okay, we have some guesses. 400, 400, 400, 450, 400. Yes, if we're going to play the prices right, the boss got the closest. They said over 453. They said over 453, right, guys? Let's scroll up a little bit. With 453 hopeful African-American immigrants on board. And at the end of the day, they had to send the Navy to rescue them. And there was only about 350 surviving Black folks. So over 100 of us died because of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln has the blood of over 100 Native Black Americans on his hands because his racist ass thought that the country would be destroyed if free Black people lived here. But fast forward, and actually our country is the strongest nation in the world because of the free Black people living here. Those free Black people who have fought in every major armed conflict, that have defended our borders from enemies foreign and domestic. Oh, damn. This is how Lincoln treats us. Over 100 of us dead because of Abraham Lincoln. But our children are being taught in grade school that Lincoln was our hero. Guys, this motivates me to start some kind of educational program. I don't know if I need to start some kind of online learning modules where you guys can pay a certain nominal rate to just get all this information and easy to digest modules that are so easy to understand that you can even sit your child down at a computer and we can give him this history, because we've been taught some bullshit in school. We've been taught some bullshit. They ain't never going to teach us in grade school about the over 100 free Black Americans that died because of Abraham Lincoln. This is terrible. This is distasteful. This is egregious. And yes, Nita, I think I got you. I'm already doing all I can by doing the personalized genealogy consultations. I'm teaching people how to do their family tree, how to trace their lineage, link with Native American tribal affiliation. I'm teaching you guys how you can go about getting tribal citizenship, just like me and my family have. But goddamn it, I think I also need to create some kind of online learning module, because I've got a 5-year-old son, and I know that this is the information I'm going to be teaching him in a few years. And I believe that each one teach one. So we may work on this as a long-term endeavor, but sooner than later, I'm going to have some kind of learning modules available so that we can get this history out there. Because as you can see, truth is way stranger than fiction. Again, let me get some fists and feathers in the chat. If this is the first time you've ever heard of Lincolnia, if this is the first time you've heard of the Emancipation Deportation Proclamation, if this is the first time you've heard of Isle of Aceh, aka Cow Island, aka the Haiti Experiment, put a fist and a feather. If this is your first time you heard that Lincoln unsuccessfully deported us, put a fist and a feather in the chat. If you had no idea our ancestors were totally opposed to being sent somewhere else. Our ancestors said we're native to here. Least of all, we're not going to the wilds of Africa. Our ancestors said we're not African American, we're American. Africa is a misnomer. Our ancestors been said we wasn't no Africans. I meet with dozens of people a week. And when I ask them in the beginning of our consultation, I typically open it up like this. I ask everybody the same question. I say, well, tell me what motivated you to look into your family's genealogy. And you know what people tell me? They tell me the same thing, just a slightly different variation, right? They tell me something of the sort, well, hey, Mike, I came home from school one day. I told my grandma today I learned we from Africa, and grandma slapped me across the face and pointed to a picture of my great grandma on the wall and said, your great great grandma was a full-blooded Indian. I've done over 90 of these consultations. I got the video testimonials as proof. And guess what? When I meet with people, they don't tell me, hey, grandma said we from Africa. Hey, my mama and daddy said we from Africa. No, they say, Mike, I'm trying to learn how to look up this Native American documentation because my people say we are Aboriginal. My people say we're Choctaw, we're Creek, we're Seminole. My ancestors say we are native to this country. I met with somebody last week. I showed them how to search through the dozens of different Native American databases, and they found that their ancestors were chiefs of tribes. I've met with some people who they're finding the documents, the tribal enrollment cards from the 1800s written by their ancestors where they're being accepted into the tribe because it's their birthright. So ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, don't go for no DNA test hokey doke. Do paper trail genealogy research. And I'm here to help you if you need a little bit of guidance. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're going to wrap up this broadcast. Before we wrap it up, let me know, what are your thoughts? I'm going to drop the StreamYard link again if anybody wants to click the link and call in. But let me know, what do you think about this? Does this make you angry? Does this make you sad? Are you surprised that you've never heard of this? Are you grateful that for whatever reason you subscribe to Mike TV and you're here today at this point in time to learn this information? Because if you ain't going to learn it here, where else you going to learn it? If you do a Google search right now for Lincolnia, Abraham Lincoln, Isle La Vache, Abraham Lincoln, the Haiti experiment, not a single YouTube video will pop up. Nobody is talking about this. Nobody. Talk about hidden history. We taking hidden history to a whole nother level. To a whole nother level. Out of all the Pan-African scholars, out of all the pseudo-historians, we ain't got none of them talking about this. I wonder why. I wonder why. And yeah, shout out to Storm. Storm says he slayed vampires, though. Right? Come on. Trending with Cherie says this makes her sad and mad at the same time. Yeah, I feel you. Tech says, I'm not surprised that it was hidden. Great content tonight. I'm glad you think so. This is what I'm here for, y'all. This is what I'm here for. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is all I have for you here this evening. Stay vigilant. Make sure to take a deep dive into your genealogy. Make sure to audit those receipts. We ain't going on hearsay. We citing sources. We checking paperwork. We checking hairlines. We checking lineage, okay? Let's go. And if any of you guys need help with your genealogy, hit me up. That's what I'm here for. But we will be live tomorrow, maybe around 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We typically do a weekend powwow stream on Saturdays. So I will see you guys then. It's been real. Black American and a proud member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. Help me help you discover your roots with a personalized genealogy consultation. Paper trail genealogy matters. DNA tests can't prove ethnicity or tribal affiliation. You must search through paper records to dive deep into your family heritage. During the meeting, I will teach you how to navigate the genealogy process with ease. You'll learn how to link tribal affiliation with your ancestors, and I'll show you the step-by-step process I went through to gaining tribal citizenship. Take the first step to unlocking your past. To book a consultation, send an email to Mike@KeyMediaPro pro.com.
Anybody that wants to know, Mike is the real deal. His information is real. He's a humble brother, and he's all about the information. He's not about, personal gain or personal applause, personal credit. This is about our nation. It's not about one individual, but it's about us collectively as a people. And Mike is all about that, So we stand behind the brother 100%.
So I think it was very informative, very educational, very knowledgeable, because you touched on some things that I was aware of, but I wasn't aware in detail. So it kind of gives like an insight to some of the things that are going on today from history. So I think it's very important to learn your genealogy. And I thank you for the information. You're showing us how to navigate through the system. It's worth 75 or maybe a little bit more to me.
If you have any doubt, get it out your head immediately. So yeah, like I'm going to continue to work with Mike as much as I can. So I want to say thank you, Mike, for actually taking the time out and talk with me and my husband. Like, you definitely informed us on a lot of things. And the people out there that's watching, he will also inform you on a lot of things that you may not even know about. So I want to say thank you again, Mike.
The Flicks Tape.
They have no future as they have no past. Tomorrow as today, slavery will be their only possible privilege.
We gods, man. We kings, man. We lords.
I was born black, I live black, and I'm gonna die probably because some cracker that knows I'm black better than you, nigga, is probably gonna put a bullet in the back of my head.
My father was raised in the era when black niggas couldn't claim Native American.
Aborigines, which means what? Black folks. But you never find a white aborigine. Rather, aborigines are called natives, or they're always dark-skinned people. You and I are aborigines, but you don't like to be called an aborigine. You want to be called an American. Aborigine actually means from the beginning. Two Latin words, ab meaning from, origine meaning the beginning.
Great shock around the age of 5 or 6 or 7 to discover the flag to which you have pledged allegiance, along with everybody else, has not pledged allegiance to you. It comes as a great shock to discover that Gary Cooper killing off the Indians when you were rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you. That the Indians were you. It comes as a great shock to discover that the country, which is your birthplace, and to which you owe your life and your identity.
Remember that big Indian dude in that movie? Mm-hmm. He was cool. And then he couldn't talk unless he was talking about gum?
Yeah. I think you're not supposed to say Indian either.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah. I think you're supposed to call them African Americans.
Oh, you're shoemakers now. And more importantly, you're a person of color. You're no longer a Nipmuc person. And that shows through in these county histories and also in the census records at the time. You find a person described in the 1860 census as an Indian. In the 1870 census, they're described as a person of color or a colored person. Same person, but the census taker, as part of the white dominant society, decides that this person is no longer Nipmuc.
Since y'all always screaming about DNA, watch what the biology professor says about DNA. Watch this.
Smith's breakdown from Ancestry showed 97% European and 2% Asian.
I'm a black girl. I am not a Jewish white lady. I'm black. My parents were black.
She contacted Ancestry with questions, but says a rep told her the results are accurate.
These DNA tests for ethnicity are entertainment value only.
William Gilliland is a biology professor at DePaul. He says DNA kits can be great for connecting family members and finding relatives, but the science for ethnicity testing isn't as concrete.
There's nothing that confident for ethnicity. There's no diagnostic nucleotide. You can say this person is from Europe, this person's from Africa.
You see that? DNA can't tell you where you're from. A scholar tells the truth. Watch this.
But many African Americans, you are the Native Americans. You're not even African Americans, you're Native Americans. You're the ones that they brought blankets with, was it smallpox or whatever diseases, and wiped out entire communities because they said they came in peace, but they actually came in war. And they are still warring us right until this day. So there are those beloveds of you who really don't feel any connection to Mama Africa. And this is just, you know, a confirmation, a reassurance that America belongs to you.
So Africans know this history, but nobody else does? Come on, make it make sense.
As a native Black American and a proud member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. Help me help you discover your roots with a personalized genealogy consultation. Paper trail genealogy matters. DNA tests can't prove ethnicity or tribal affiliation. You must search through paper records to dive deep into your family heritage. During the meeting, I will teach you how to navigate the genealogy process with ease. You'll learn how to link tribal affiliation with your ancestors, and I'll show you the step-by-step process I went through to gaining tribal citizenship. Take the first step to unlocking your past. To book a consultation, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com.
To get genealogy consultation, I highly recommend Mike. You know, he was very thorough, prompt, very knowledgeable. Even taught me some stuff about the background of Indian ancestry and heritage that I didn't know. The biggest piece of it is he taught me how to pull records and really dig into those records to make sure that I have things to match up to be able to take back for my citizenship. So I really appreciate everything he does. Highly recommend Mike as your genealogist.
The Flicks Tape.
They have no future as they have no past. Tomorrow as today, slavery will be their only possible privilege.
We gods, man. We kings, man. We lords.
I was born black, I live black, and I'm gonna die probably because some cracker that knows I'm black better than you, nigga, is probably gonna put a bullet in the back of my head.
This is the remix. My father was raised in the era when black niggas couldn't claim Native American.
Aborigine, which means what? Black folks. But you never find a white aborigine. Rather, aborigines are called natives, or they're always dark-skinned people. You and I are aborigines, but you don't like to be called aborigine. You want to be called an American. Aborigine actually means from the beginning. Two Latin words, ab meaning from, origine meaning the beginning.
Great shock around the age of 5 or 6 or 7 to discover the flag to which you have pledged allegiance along with everybody else has not pledged allegiance to you. It comes as a great shock to discover that Gary Cooper killing off the Indians when you were rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you. That the Indians were you. It comes as a great shock to discover that the country, which is your birthplace, and to which you owe your life and your identity.
Remember that big Indian dude in that movie? Mm-hmm. He was cool. And then he couldn't talk unless he was talking about gum?
Yeah. You know, I think you're not supposed to say Indian either.
No way, really?
Yeah. I think you're supposed to call them African Americans.
Oh, you're shoemakers now. And more importantly, you're a person of color. You're no longer a Nipmuc person. And that shows through in these county histories and also in the census records at the time. You find a person described in the 1860 census as an Indian. In the 1870 census, they're described as a person of color or a colored person. Same person, but the census taker, as part of the white dominant society, decides that this person is no longer Nipmuc.
Since y'all always screaming about DNA, watch what the biology professor says about DNA. Watch this.
Smith's breakdown from Ancestry showed 97% European and 2% Asian.
I'm a black girl. I am not a Jewish white lady. I'm black. My parents were black.
She contacted Ancestry with questions, but says a rep told her the results are accurate.
These DNA tests for ethnicity are entertainment value only.
William Gilliland is a biology professor at DePaul. He says DNA kits can be great for connecting family members and finding relatives, but the science for ethnicity testing isn't as concrete.
There's nothing that confident for ethnicity. There's no diagnostic nucleotide. You can say this person is from Europe, this person's from Africa.
You see that? DNA can't tell you where you're from. A scholar tells the truth. Watch this.
But many African Americans, you are the Native Americans. You're not even African Americans, you're Native Americans. You're the ones that they brought blankets with, was it smallpox or whatever diseases, and wiped out entire communities because they said they came in peace. But they actually came in war, and they are still warring us right until this day. So there are those beloveds of you who really don't feel any connection to Mama Africa. And this is just, a confirmation, a reassurance that America belongs to you.
So Africans know this history, but nobody else does? Come on, make it make sense.
In me. And so with the help of my wife, we extracted enough saliva to send off in the mail. We were so excited to see the results. After about 3 months, we were shocked. My lizard was 51% Ashkenazi Jewish. It was also 40% West Asian. This was really interesting. They also gave us a little bit of his background and his history, what he liked to eat, etc. Let us know which animal's DNA we should send in next.
You don't have to try to be something you're not. Trying to be something I'm not? Trying to be proud of my African heritage? That's being something I'm not, then fine. My grandmother was a full-blooded Iroquois. I know all of that, Mama. They don't know this. I am alive because of the blood of a people who never scraped or begged or apologized for what they were. They asked only one thing of this world, to be allowed to be. It broke my heart when you changed your name. I gave you my grandmother's name, a woman who bore 9 children and educated them all. Who held off 6 white men with a shotgun when they tried to drag one of her sons off to jail for not knowing his place. And you had to reach into an African dictionary to find a name that would make you proud.
My father was raised in the era when black niggas couldn't claim Native American. Making music would've thought I had help, but the Indians I know wanna be the chief they sell.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let me get some fists and feathers in the chat if you can hear me loud, crisp, and clear, and we'll get this party started. Smash the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission, and let's get on with the show. I want to do this live stream to really give praise and honor to some of our ancestors that do have African lineage. That's right, guys. Some of us, very few of us, a very small minority percentage of us do have African lineage. You know, the transatlantic slave trade is not a conspiracy. It really happened. And although over 40% of the slaves went to the Caribbean and over 60% of the slaves went to South America, 4% of those slaves did come to North America. And we still refer to them as Native Black Americans because those slaves, when they rebelled, when they revolted, when they burnt down the plantations and they fled and they warred on their white oppressor, guess where they went for safe haven? To the indigenous tribes. They were accepted. They were allowed to assimilate, intermarry, adopt their culture and their customs. So for those of us that do descend from the 4% of the African slaves that came to North America, well, riddle me this, put yourself in their shoe. Do you think they want to hold on to some weird, distant tie to Africa 400 years ago, them backwards ass bush baby inbred motherfuckers that sold their fellow African to the white man for trinkets? Or do you think they would have more pride and honor with their more recent ancestry and their Aboriginal connection? Now, we're going to actually get into a specific tribe known as the Seminoles. The name Seminole comes from Spanish Seminole, which means runaway. When you hear about the 5 civilized tribes, when you hear about Native Americans having slaves, it really wasn't what you think of when you think of slavery. It wasn't no Roots, 12 Years a Slave type shit. Oftentimes, which we're going to learn here today, is the blacks were free and equal. Those African slaves were free and equal to their indigenous counterparts. But the white man still called them a slave in the history books. The white man actually tried to force the tribal members to give up those African slaves and send them back to the plantation. And guess what? They revolted. They had the Seminole Wars. They had conflict. Those Aboriginals went to bat, pulled up arms in defense of those African slaves, and they said they are not going back to the plantation. They are a part of us. They are a part of our tribe. So when we talk about African lineage and African heritage, some of us, very few of us, do have that. Some of us are a part of the 4% that came here, but even that 4% mixed in and were accepted and adopted into indigenous tribes. And today we're going to talk about not just the Seminoles, not just the Black Seminoles, but the Black warrior Seminoles. These folks were giving the Europeans hell. These folks were standing on business. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at a little piece of untold history. At a certain point in time, I will drop the StreamYard link if anybody wants to call in and provide some commentary. Let's go.
Dub Warrior is a Black Seminole. He is descended from Africans who escaped slavery and united with the Seminole Indians in Florida more than 2 centuries ago.
There's no future without a past. It's a fact. If you're coming from nowhere, you're going nowhere.
1776. 13 American colonies rebel against British rule, but Florida remains loyal to England. The river dividing Georgia and Florida becomes an international border. Hundreds of blacks enslaved on American plantations escaped south, finding refuge and allies among the Seminole Indians in northern Florida. Enraged.
Come on, y'all, riddle me this. Those Seminoles that have African descent, African heritage, do you think they give a damn about the dope fiend crackhead parents of theirs that sold them into child slavery? Or do you think they care about their adoptive family that took them in and fought to keep them free? I wonder, even the few of us that have African lineage, do y'all really think we hold on to that distant lineage, or we rocking with the Aboriginals that rocked with us and never sold us out, stayed true?
Aged slave owners enlist the United States government to destroy the Black and Seminole alliance. But in 50 years of fighting, the bond between Black and Seminole is not broken.
Come on, I had a dumbass troll in my comment section earlier today, left a comment on a video, said, "Hey, Mike, I've done a lot of research and I've never seen any of these black tribes you speak of." Well, I hope you're watching right now.
Charlie Wilson is dedicated to passing on the history of her Seminole ancestors.
So many blacks were in slavery, and we would say died for being black, and we survived.
The heritage of these black Seminoles is unique. Their existence as a people proves that whites failed to destroy the alliance they most feared.
They knew if there was ever a joint effort that they wouldn't be able to control. They couldn't control either race, the black or the Indian.
The Indians were skilled, but then you had your blacks, some of them were domesticated by the whites. They knew their ways, they knew their weaknesses. So together, what do you get? A formidable foe, because they're stronger together.
American slave owners feared the united strength of the Africans they had enslaved and the Indians whose land they had stolen. This combined African and Indian force soon became Florida's best defense against American invaders. A 1783 treaty ended the American Revolution. Control of Florida returned to Spain, the territory's original colonial ruler. As the Spanish moved into St. Augustine, the Americans demanded the return of escaped slaves, but the Spanish had other plans.
Anytime, day or night, step out and see what was taking place.
Historian Jane Landers discovered records documenting that the Spanish encouraged a military alliance between blacks and Indians.
Sometimes you will see on the list detachments of the Free Black Militias specifically posted out at Indian villages. The Black and Indian militias were the military force on the frontier. So the Spanish would be negotiating at diplomatic levels with the United States, but they would send out the Indians and the blacks to do the fighting. And the Free Blacks in St. Augustine were very connected many times to the blacks that were living in the Seminole villages. What we now call the Seminoles were living in their own villages, for instance, very large settlements near what is now Gainesville, Florida, in the Alachua, Savannah area.
A close relationship developed between Seminoles and blacks on this prairie. Some white observers mistakenly assumed the blacks were slaves to the Seminoles.
It really was not a...
What did they just say? Did y'all catch that? Did y'all just hear that? They just said that the white observers mistook the black Seminoles as slaves. Guys, do you understand why it's so important to trace your family heritage now? Guess what? The Seminoles, on paper, let the Europeans tell his version of history, right? They said the Seminoles were part of the 5 civilized tribes who held slaves. Well, what the white man calls slaves, you'll find, are actually free black people, but they just can't stand the notion of free black people, so they still label them slaves in the records. Do you see why it's important to do your genealogy? You may have ancestors that are on the Seminole tribe's roll, listed as freedmen, you would assume that means that they were a slave of the Seminole, but it's saying right here, the Seminoles didn't have no black slaves. They had black brothers. The Europeans mistook them for slaves.
Between Seminoles and blacks on this prairie. Some white observers mistakenly assumed the blacks were slaves to the Seminoles.
It really was not a slave-master relationship. It was more a free existence. They intermarried. The children were accepted in the tribes quite easily, and they had a common interest in wanting to hold that land where they were living freely. They had acquired big herds of cattle themselves. They had nice fields and homes.
But Georgian slave owners raged against the Black and Seminole alliance. They demanded that the U.S. government capture the former slaves and their children, even if it meant invading Spanish Florida, which they did in 1812.
Blacks and Indians fought so fiercely and with such determination that they routed the Georgians who were invading Florida. They even fought and defeated a U.S. Marine contingent that was assisting those Georgians.
But within a few months, the Georgians were back with fresh troops. They invaded the prairie, pillaged the towns, burned hundreds of log homes. These few excavated remains tell of a settled life destroyed forever.
Come on, y'all. Peep game, peep game, peep game. So the Europeans classify the blacks with the Seminoles as slaves, but what is actually going on in reality is that the Seminole Indians and the African slaves that are now part of the Seminole tribe, they're actively fighting against making black Seminole slaves. The white man says they're slaves, but actually they're killing the white man to try to preserve the black Seminoles' freedom. This is why we can't trust their version of history. Do you understand?
The Seminoles scattered south. Many of the black Seminoles disappeared to a place where the invading Americans would not find them for a long time.
The Seminoles were pretty well crippled and dispersed in a number of different directions, beginning in about 1813. One of the spots they came, I think, was in this vicinity here.
This map, drawn more than 150 years ago in the diary of an American military engineer, led anthropologist Brent Wiseman to this remote location on the Withlacoochee River. The diary's author, Henry Prince, called this place Boggy Island.
We're now in the middle of Boggy Island, high and dry, in the midst of river swamp all around. This is the area described by Henry Prince as being cleared and cultivated by the black Seminoles during the Second Seminole War period. It was in this area here, now overgrown as a very beautiful mesic hammock, that the black Seminoles grew corn, beans, several varieties of squash, pumpkins, and along the edge of the river, sugarcane. We know very little about how these black Seminoles were living. We don't know what their settlement looked like. We don't know anything about their daily lives. On the other hand, we have a very informative historical resource below our feet, a relatively undisturbed archaeological site out here somewhere, waiting to be further explored. And it's quite possible that archaeology will hold the key to developing a real history of these black Seminoles in Florida.
The black Seminoles at Boggy Island stayed out of sight, while another group of blacks occupied this highly visible spot, the location of what was called Negro Fort on the Apalachicola River in Spanish Florida. The British built this fort during the War of 1812. They retreated in 1814 and left the fort and extensive artillery to blacks and Indians settled along the river. American slave owners detested this evidence of black strength so close to their plantations. Young General Andrew Jackson ordered the fort destroyed, regardless of the ground it stands on.
Yes, President Andrew Jackson, general, then becomes president in later years. The motherfucker on our money is responsible for destroying black Seminole encampments. Come on, y'all. Do you understand it's so paramount for us to look into history under our own accord, under our own fruition, because we can't trust the version of his story.
This was a really good consultation. If you're curious about your Native American history, this brother knows what he's talking about. He has a wealth of knowledge, wealth of information, and his prices is legit. So book a consultation, go through the process, and see what comes out on the other side.
Mike is the real deal. His information is real. He's a humble brother, and he's all about the information. He's not about personal gain or personal applause, personal credit. This is about our nation. It's not about one individual, but it's about us collectively as a people. And Mike is all about that, So we stand behind the brother 100%.
If you have any doubt, get it out your head immediately. So yeah, I'm going to continue to work with Mike as much as I can. So I want to say thank you, Mike, for actually taking the time out and talk with me and my husband. You definitely informed us on a lot of things. And the people out there that's watching, he will also inform you on a lot of things that you may not even know about. So I want to say thank you again, Mike.
On July 27, 1814, a lucky shot from an American frigate hit the fort's magazine. The explosion killed almost 300 blacks and Indians. In 1817, Jackson invaded Spanish Florida with the excuse of routing out blacks and Indians. The Spanish didn't stop the Americans, and by 1821, Florida belonged to the United States. New settlers pushed into Florida, demanding more and more of the valuable Seminole lands. Violence between settlers and Seminoles continued, even after the U.S. government restricted the Seminoles to a reservation. Slave catchers made a living kidnapping black Seminoles. As president, Andrew Jackson demanded that all Seminoles be removed west and that all black Seminoles be sold into slavery. The Seminoles refused.
So on the one hand, they say the blacks were the slaves of the Seminole, but on the other hand, they're refusing to make the black Seminoles slaves. Guys, both can't be true at the same damn time. Which version of the story do you choose to believe?
Thousands of U.S. troops occupied the Florida territory. By 1835, the Seminole resistance galvanized into war.
The older ancestors, they used to tell us about that when I was a kid. And they said that they fought down there in the Seminole War for 7 years.
Significance of the Negro presence in the first place was that it was a basic cause of the war. The erection of these forts, Foster and certain others, I think indicated beyond any doubt to the Indians that the United States wanted in the long run to push them out, because several of the forts, like Fort Foster, were in the reservation, and there wouldn't be any basic purpose in having the forts in the reservation.
So basically what he's saying is that they already pushed the Seminoles, the black Seminoles included, onto a reservation, but because there's unity between the blacks or the recently freed African slaves, or runaway slaves, I shall say, because there's a coalition, because there's a unity, a bond between the blacks and the Indians, they want to go onto the reservation and break them up. So look how greasy, look how grimy, look how devious. All because what? They can't stand some free black folks being united with some free Indians.
if you were going to leave the Indians in it, leave them alone. The constant leakage of slaves from South Carolina, Georgia, down here so aggravated the slaveholders that they were determined to wipe out this refuge. The blacks were among the more important guides. They were the sole interpreters. There wasn't anybody else who could interpret. And as warriors, as long as they were on the Indian side, the people at the time always stated that the blacks were as good fighters as the Indians, if not better. And so their significance is major.
I think you would find that the freedmen was the one that was doing most of the fight. Mm-hmm. And they fought to be free.
The High Command, Jessup, changed his position several times. At one point, he said every slave that can be demonstrated to have belonged to a white has to go back to the whites. And if the Indians don't turn them in, we'll hang anyone who wasn't turned in or who didn't turn them in. But Jessup's end position, after several flip-flops.
And as we talk about the history, the legacy of the Seminole Freedmen, we got to give a huge shout out to the Freedmen's Network. Thanks for stopping by, brother. Y'all make sure to check out this brother's podcast, the Freedmen Network Affairs Radio on Spotify and iHeart. The link is in the chat.
We aren't going to make slave catchers out of the United States Army.
The Seminoles fought until the U.S. government agreed that the black Seminoles would also be allowed to go west.
Damn, so the Seminoles were banging on the white boys. They was banging on them. They said, no, it's up and it's stuck. We're going to fight, bleed, and die and kill you until you allow us to take our free black folks with us. We ain't going west of the Mississippi. We ain't going to Oklahoma, to Indian Territory, unless you allow us to take our black tribal members with us. So, guys, for those of us that are descendants of the 4% of African slaves that came to North America, what do you think they hold more dear to them? The African lineage that betrayed them and sold them to the Europeans for trinkets, or the Aboriginal inhabitants of America that adopted them and took them in and fought and bled and died right alongside them to preserve their freedom?
While some Seminoles never left the Florida swamps, the majority of Seminoles, Indian and black, sailed from Tampa Bay up the Mississippi and Arkansas rivers to Indian Territory. Here, Seminoles joined thousands of southeastern Indians forced west by the U.S. government.
And shout out to Tom. Tom says the label is black if you don't claim your black Seminole heritage in court. Yeah, you know, it's interesting that the Moorish sovereign citizen folks want to run around talking about sovereignty. For better or for worse, Indian tribes do have sovereignty. You can actually, quote unquote, have your status corrected. Guys, when I got my citizenship and went through the process, the same process that I actively take people through every week, when we went through this, it changed my designation on the census. My passport, my driver's license, my birth certificate, it no longer says black. It now says American Indian. But unless you trace your heritage and unless you, I'm sorry that I'm using these terms because they've kind of been demonized by these sovereign citizen weirdos online. But unless you correct your status and trace your heritage, then you just got to be black. And, you know, fresh off the boat, African bush baby tethers, they come over here and they don't call them immigrants. They don't call them African Americans. They just call them black people. If anyone's an African American, it should be those Africans. But we're mislabeled with misnomers like black and African American unless we got our paperwork in check.
This countryside now bears the name of Seminole County, Oklahoma. It is headquarters for the Seminole Nation in the West. Twin brothers Lawrence and Lance Cudjoe stay deeply involved in the affairs of the Seminole Nation, even while Lance recovers from a severe stroke. Their ancestor, King Cudjoe, was a translator and advisor to the Seminoles in Florida.
Have a seat, have a seat. Finally made it.
Lawrence meets with Seminole Chief Tanyan. They prepare for a council meeting later that night.
And whichever the way this person votes, that's the way they're gonna go. Yeah. Yeah.
In Oklahoma, black Seminoles are called Seminole freedmen. 2 of the 14 tribal bands of the Seminole Nation are freedmen bands. Seminole freedmen have full tribal status, unlike any other group of blacks associated with Native peoples.
Yes, guys, fun fact. The Treaty of 1866 was when the government told the tribes that quote unquote held slaves, or really just had black people amongst them, that they had to free them and make them full citizens and give them full benefits. Some of the tribes said no, and they discriminated against the freedmen. One of the tribes that rocked out for the freedmen were the Seminoles. The Seminoles gave them full citizenship, full tribal benefits, like the Treaty of 1866 stipulated. Some tribes, like my tribe, the Muscogee Creek Nation, they discriminate against the freedmen. The Choctaw Nation, they discriminate against the freedmen. And those freedmen are going to court to this day. They just had a court hearing last month with Congress to try to get their status restored and get citizenship and all the benefits thereof. But the Seminoles never discriminated against their black tribal members listed as freedmen.
When they had that brutal war in Florida, the freedmen were so well tied with the Seminole tribe that they adopted them, made them full citizens of Seminole Nation. And their constitution was a lot different than the Creeks and a lot of the rest of them, because they really were blood brothers. In fact, there was a lot of intermarrying in that tribe.
Ben Warrior is the head of the Doser Barkus band. Ben Warrior's ancestors came to Indian Territory as independent tribal members to farm the land and live free.
When the government made agreement with the freedmen to cease fighting and come to Oklahoma with the Indians, the freedmen made agreement that they would come, but they had to come with their guns on. So you see, the freedmen came here with their guns on. And they said the freedmen were slave to the Indian, but slave don't wear no gun.
Exactly. Listen to the elder. They classified them as slaves. They said, oh, these black folks with the Seminoles are just slaves, but they refused to go to Oklahoma Indian Territory unless they had pistols on them. What slaves you know travel with guns on some Django type shit? Get that nigga off that neck. No. Nuh-uh. He stay up on that horse if he a Seminole. Let's talk about it, y'all. Let's talk about it.
But in 1839, when the Florida Seminoles first arrived at Fort Gibson on the Arkansas River, slave catchers were close behind. Many black Seminoles stayed at the fort and built this commissary for the government. The Army protected them from slave catchers, but still called them slaves.
Guys, when I do the paper trail genealogy research with my clients, guess what? We find ancestors of theirs that were listed as freedmen. We find ancestors of theirs that were listed as slaves, but that don't mean that's the lifestyle they was living. Did you know some slaves had pistols? And if a European tried to subjugate them, they killed them and went to war with them for several years? Oh, that's a hell of a lifestyle for a slave, huh? Guys, just because you do your genealogy and your ancestors were freedmen or your ancestors were slaves, that does not mean African. And even a lot of these black Seminoles were aboriginals that were relabeled as African and with other misnomers and false titles. But a lot of the Africans that did come to North America, when they fled the plantation, they went to the Seminole tribe in Florida because they knew that was a safe haven. So you've got a mix. Got black Indians with no African admixture. You got black Indians with African admixture and everything in between. But guys, put a 1 in the chat. Nah, fuck that. Put some fists and feathers in the chat if you didn't realize that some of our ancestors who were listed as slaves on records were actually living totally free. freer than you and me. You may live in a state that doesn't have open. Our ancestors was open carrying with it in the 1800s.
The persecution continued. In 1849, blacks among the Seminoles were legally declared slaves. In defiance, Seminole war hero John Horse and his partner Wildcat rebelled. They led 300 followers out of Indian Territory into Mexico.
They chose Mexico, I imagine, because it was supposed to be free over there. They could do what you wanted. If they had stayed over here, they'd be back in slavery again.
The Seminoles lived near the Rio Grande for 20 years, where they served as border patrol for the Mexican government. The Seminoles' expertise as horsemen and sharpshooters made an impression, even on the American side of the river, where they were still considered slaves. Soon after the Civil War abolished slavery in the United States, the U.S. Army recruited the Seminoles as border scouts. They were stationed here at Fort Clark, Texas. The Army promised wages and land.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Wait a minute. Foul on the play. Foul on the play. Foul on the play. This is a tale as old as time. The U.S. government wants to persecute us and then later on ask us to win battles for them. They did that in the Revolutionary War, in the Seminole War, and now we're learning how they did that in the Indian Wars. We already heard how they persecuted the Seminoles, tried to make them slaves. They had to battle them for 7 years. Then they tried to force them west of the Mississippi to Oklahoma Indian Territory. They said, we're not going unless our black Seminoles go with us. All that shit for the U.S. government to come around and be like, hey, so we need your help fighting the other Indian tribes. So can you come be scouts for us in our army? And we promise we'll treat you better than before.
In 1970 to form the scouts for the government. That's why they came back. And they promised them land and that they would take care of them. And each man that came over and they used him as a scout would get the same pay as a private. And then they would let the rest of the family stay on the land. But the guys that were scouts would take care of the rest of the people, as the families. And that's the way they did. They stayed together. And if I had, you had.
The Seminole Scouts served the U.S. government for 34 years. They earned 3 Congressional Medals of Honor. Descendants of the Seminole Scouts had to obtain permission to visit this land at Fort Clark, where their parents and grandparents once had homes.
And the road to the cemetery is right up above.
That's right. Just back down over in that. Now it's changed so much. I hardly. Isn't it pathetic?
Fine.
The Army kept them there until they thought it was peaceful enough. Then after they figured they didn't need them any longer, well, they just put them off, tell them they had to leave. And I learned that, of course, there would be some dissensions about it because they had never thought of it. Had never thought they would ever have to leave. They had established their homes and was getting along comfortably.
Fort Clark is no longer a military base, but a private residential club.
When they first opened up, you paid to go in the gates to get down on the reservation and all. And that was one of the reasons why I joined, because I felt that I was born down there. That's our land. And they shouldn't have taken it. And there is a bit of bitterness.
Seminole Scout families lost their Fort Clark homes, while Seminole freedmen in Oklahoma were being swindled out of land allotted to them from the original Seminole reservation.
Guys, do you understand how badly they fucked over our ancestors? They flee the plantation, get adopted in by the Seminole tribes. The government's like, hey, no, Seminoles, give those black folks up. They're slaves. They're slaves. They say, no, we're going to fight you for 7 years. While they're fighting them actively, they're slave catchers stealing the black Seminoles and sending them to plantations. They rebel. They win wars. Some of them end up succeeding, going to Oklahoma, Indian Territory, west of the Mississippi. Some people like John Horse fought to the end. They went to Mexico. They were allotted land in Mexico and became border patrol for the Mexican government. But those that relocated to Oklahoma, that was supposed to be Indian Territory with no white folks, later the white folks come, and through land lotteries and illegal schemes, some legal schemes as well, they steal the Indian Territory from the Indians. You push the Indians to the middle of nowhere, to the desert to die, basically. And then later on, you still come and take your land. What? And then they co-opt and convince some of the Black Seminoles to work for the government that previously oppressed them, to help them win the Indian Wars and to be scout leaders. And then those families of the scout leaders get their land taken. And then the freedmen who get land allotments in Oklahoma still get their land taken. And then modern day, the descendants of these people don't even know that's their ancestral legacy. And they think that they're African Americans and they come from Africa. All right. Talk about it.
The justification for the allotment of reservations was that American Indians would not be able to become, quote unquote, civilized until they were taught the value of private ownership of land.
Peep game. We had communal ownership of land. We did not acknowledge private ownership of land. And that is what the Europeans despise the most, because guess what? If we have free, sovereign, communal land, hundreds of thousands of acres, undisturbed, natural, living in equilibrium with our environment, living in natural harmony, natural accord, well, guess what? What do the Europeans really want? They want the situation we're in today. Modern day, the American government taxes every single parcel of land. You can't tax every single little individual acre and square meter of land unless you split it up into individual land allotments. So even when they sent the Indians to die in the desert of Oklahoma, they give them big swaths of land, hundreds of thousands of acres. And then when they come and they're trying to get some white settlers to create the state of Oklahoma, they start forcing them off of their tribal land, off of their regional land, into individual privatized land allotments. And then once you have your own privatized parcel, once they give you your 40 acres and a mule, they can swindle you out of your individual parcel. And then whoever the new owner is, they can tax individually. And now they're taxing every square inch of this country.
Anthropologist Rebecca Bateman spent a year conducting research among the freedmen in Seminole County.
In 1897, a tribal roll was created in which the attempt was made to list all of the Indian and freedmen members of the tribe in preparation for preparing the allotment roll.
They paid $10 to get on the roll, I hear. And if you came from Florida with Seminole Indians or your ancestors and they were on the rolls, well, come on down by lineal descent, and they allocated land. We got the map name. Everybody they issued that land to. Some of them did real well because he got land that had oil reserves on it. Of course, that land has gotten away. We had some of the same conditions they had down in Florida, where they just told people to.
That's right. They forced them to the Oklahoma desert just to find out the land is rich in oil. So now they want to steal the land. Come on. Come on. Let's talk about it. How you give reparations, then steal reparations. It don't make sense. And that wasn't even no real reparations. That wasn't even no real rectification. It's just so low down, so egregious. And unfortunately, oftentimes, the only way for us to have tribal recognition and citizenship is if our ancestors, for better or for worse, got along to go along and signed up on the Dawes roll so they can get their individual land allotment.
Just hold them out of deed and told people to get off the land they own, you know.
there was a massive grab for land by white speculators who did so by taking advantage of the illiterate allottees, both Indian and Black, but particularly the freedmen.
See, there's a lot of things that she found in the documents that was extremely negative. It made the state look bad. That shouldn't be brought out. That's why it's not in the history books. They're not gonna put it in the history books where how they got over a lot of this land. They're not gonna put that in the history books.
People today, especially elderly people, some of whom are old enough to have been original allottees, they remember this period very well.
Helen Thurman, born in 1902, was listed on the allotment rolls as a newborn.
Now, which is which?
That's Lance. I'm
Lance. He's Lance. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Y'all come in. Yeah. I've got a good fire. I'm a newborn.
You were newborn.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All the newborns just got 40 acres of land. But
Yes.
some got 60, the older ones, first class land. They got 60 acres.
60.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, y'all. You may not even realize that you have familial land that was allotted to you and your ancestors. We don't know what we don't know until we go through the paper trail.
The genealogy consultation, I highly recommend Mike. You know, he was very thorough, prompt, very knowledgeable. Even taught me some stuff about the background of Indian ancestry and heritage that I didn't know. The biggest piece of it is he taught me how to pull records and really dig into those records to make sure that I have things to match up to be able to take back for my citizenship. So I really appreciate everything he does, and I highly recommend Mike as your genealogist.
Guys, we must do the work. We must look through the records. Matter of fact, perfect example. This is how accessible these records are nowadays. Let me show you how accessible these documents truly are. Now, most people, unfortunately, do not search properly. And I'm going to give you some game. Normally, this is something that I cover during one of my personal one-on-one consultations, but I'm going to give you some game, okay? The game is meant to be told and not always sold, but let's talk about it for a moment. Now, most people mess up because they start with the Dawes roll. They get the names of ancestors of theirs, they go to the Dawes roll, and they start looking up names, right? Well, that's not the way to go about doing things. And the reason why that is not the way to go about doing things is because when you search for your ancestors on the Dawes roll, it's best to search by tribal roll number. And most times when someone does a preliminary search, they just do first and last name. If I search for my own ancestors who I know for a fact are on the Dawes roll, if I search for last name, they're not going to pop up. It's really hit or miss. Really, really, really hit or miss. So what you got to do is you've got to search by tribal roll number. And in order to get that tribal roll number, the first thing you have to do is trace your family tree. I did my family tree through Ancestry.com. On my father's side, I took it all the way back to the 1830s. On my mother's side, we taken it all the way back to the late 1700s. But if we go to my most recent ancestor that was on the Dawes roll, my most recent lineal ancestor, that's going to be Pleasant Tobler. But if you search on the Dawes roll, just type in Pleasant, just type in Tobler. Either A, it'll say no results found, or B, there may be multiple names that pop up. So what you've got to do is search by the roll number, if known, right? If known. Well, this is how you get that roll number. After you do a family tree through Ancestry.com, you come over here to the American Indian Records database. And this is a simple way that you can search literally dozens of different Native American data collections: census rolls, Montana rolls, Cherokee muster rolls, land allotment sales, Creek equalization, Indian archives, tribes, chiefs, and treaties. The list goes on and on and on. And if you already have your family tree built through Ancestry.com, and again, I said family tree built. I didn't say mouth swab. I didn't say DNA test. Two different things. Genealogy has nothing to do with DNA. We ain't spitting in no cups around here. If you go to type in the name of one of your ancestors on your family tree, like I start typing in Pleasant, well, look, it's going to give me a suggestion right here. Hey, do you mean Pleasant Tobler? Born 1903. If I click on the blue area right here, it's going to auto-populate whatever they already have on the tree. His birth, his death, his mother, his father, etc., right? So then when I come down here and click search, if there's any Native American records like land allotments, like we're talking about, right? Land allotments, tribal citizenship cards, it should pop up. And what do we have here? We've got many different documents popping up. We've got land allotments. We've got roll cards. Let's start with the first one. We actually have digitized documents that have been scanned. If we click view right now, we are now looking at a Creek newborn card handwritten for one of my lineal ancestors, March 3rd, 1905. This is how deep we can get with it. This is how deep we can go. Come on, I'm mixing the education with the entertainment. Let's talk about it. Now, again, when you see documents like this, what you really need is this roll number, because then if I take this roll number 1017, I take this over to the Dawes roll and type 1017 in the roll number section. Do some scrolling, and what do you know? Pleasant Tobler. He's listed on the Dawes roll as 2 years old, male, blood quantum is 1/2. There's his roll number again, and he's listed as a Creek by blood newborn. And just like in the video, the documentary film about the Black Seminoles, they were talking about land allotments. Well, you know what? In the American Indian Records database, I thought I saw something that said land allotments. Let's see what that is. Oklahoma and Indian Territory U.S. land allotment jackets for the 5 civilized tribes. Let's view this document. Look at this. 1905, Act of Congress approved, Pleasant Tobler. Let's see what this is about. Fred Tobler is his father. You are hereby advised that on January 4th, 1906, the Secretary of the Interior approved the enrollment of your minor child, Pleasant Tobler, as a citizen by blood of the Creek Nation, and that the name of said child appears upon the roll of newborn citizens of the Creek Nation as number 1017. The child is now entitled to an allotment. Weren't we talking about land allotments earlier? The child is now entitled to an allotment, and application therefore should be made without delay at the land office for the nation in which the prospective allotment is located. The entire allotment for said child must be selected at the time of the original application. And guys, unfortunately, we already know how the story goes. We already know how dire the story ends, because even though they had us sign up on Dawes rolls and they, switched us from regional land ownership to privatized land allotments, they still tricked us out of our land allotments. I don't know if they did that specifically with my family, but they did that with a lot of Black Indians. Well, but let me see if there's any more documents. all right, all right. Let's do this. Let's get the show on the road. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let me get some fists in the chat if you can hear me loud, crisp, and clear. We're going to keep this party going. Come on, y'all. From stream to stream, we keeping the content flowing. This broadcast is a very, very long overdue segment. The algorithm pushed some interviews my way a couple weeks ago. We've got some Black American Indians that are going to tell their story, talk about their experience. You know, they claim us Native Black Americans don't exist, but God damn it, they start backtracking as soon as I whip out the Muscogee Creek Nation ID card. I mean, Lord, doing your genealogy is pertinent. Knowing your roots, knowing your heritage is oh so important. So many people want to claim to have a vested interest in what we identify as what we label ourselves. Nah, they can have a seat. They can have several. Make sure to like the broadcast on the way in and share the video if you can. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on TikTok. As soon as I get to 1,000, we can start creating some content over there as well. So go ahead and subscribe to me on TikTok if you do have a TikTok account. Throw 5 on the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission. But without further ado, let's get into the content.
Deeper, because both of you talked about, in terms of the intro, and I think I might have mentioned it also, that you are both Black and Native. So let's talk a little bit about what that was like for you in both cultures, and being both a Black woman and a Native woman. And what did you have to encounter in both spaces in terms of like learning your identity and knowing who you are, and what do you even deal with today in terms of sort of representing yourself? Let's talk.
And shout out to QC. It's always nice to hear from a new subscriber. I'm glad that you find value in the content. Welcome aboard.
Growing up, for me, my mother, as a single mother, she strived so hard to make sure not only did I know my culture as a Native woman, as a Lakota, but also as a Black woman. And she also made sure I learned U.S. Black history, but as well as African history, and as well as the African presence in all of the world, and as well as the indigenous presence of all over the world. And she made sure that I was around the Maori growing up. I have an African Yoruba name, which is Fafunke. I have so she made sure that I'll be in our teachings. It's the 4 directions of people, which is this medicine wheel, and we say Matakiasi, or some tribes say Matakiape, which means we are all related, or all my relations. That's the foundation of many Native American spirituality, which is we're all related in some way, shape, and form. We're all connected to that one creator. And so with that, that was the foundation in my home. Today, and may God be pleased with my mother, she passed away in 2003 of full-blown lung cancer. But today, I'm in the position that God has put me in on this beautiful platform to be able to represent being Black and being Native. I have noticed so many people that are of two, whether they are Mexican and white, or whatever mix they are, they were denied to represent one or the other. And in our history was paper genocide of you had to either pick Black or white or colored, or white or other. And a lot of people was not able to represent their culture. I am here today because my ancestors were denied to represent their culture. And yes, I dealt with racism on both sides. From growing up,
Hey, let's take it a step further. When it comes to Native Black Americans or Black American Indians, there's 2 different types. There's those that come from Black indigenous folks, and there's those that descend from Africans that were transported here as slaves and then fled the plantation and intermarried and was adopted into indigenous tribes. So we do have to draw the distinction, but as far as the stolen identity, I mean, it runs deep. Guys, in certain states, they even reclassified Native Americans as Negroes and other slaves and put them on the plantation. So tell me they weren't copper-colored individuals for you to be able to mislabel them as Negroes and slaves from Africa. Let's talk about it.
Black girls used to pull my hair, or I was teased because they would say I was adopted, or boys used to say, how come you don't look like your mother, because I would date you because you're so dark. I dealt with it in the native side when I would go to powwows and I'm feeling great in my fancy shawl and ready to dance, and they say, get that nigger off the powwow grounds. So I've dealt with it on both sides, but I thank God for my grandfather, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who taught me of who our common enemy is. And is the root of it is evil, and the root of it is colonization and supremacy and privilege.
Yeah, let's talk about it, y'all. Let's talk about the supremacy, the xenophobia, the privilege. Just because I'm a member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, that don't mean I'm all up at the powwows, all one with all my fellow tribal members. I ain't met most of the motherfuckers. You feel me? For all I know, they ain't on the same type of vibe I am. They don't pass the vibe check, if you will. So just like we have xenophobic, racist Black Americans, we have xenophobic, racist Native Americans, we have xenophobic, racist European Americans, and the list goes on and on and on. And I have heard of some stories of Black natives that grew up on the reservation, and they do say a lot of those pale skinned natives do treat them differently. So, that is something that definitely needs to be addressed. But let's keep on with the content, y'all. Let's keep on with the content. They say us Black natives don't even exist at all. Come on now. We pretendians, we wobbles. Well, let's go ahead and take a deep dive into some Aboriginal history.
Just unify. We really don't even know the power that we have, our communities have.
Oh, and shout out to Jay Hawk. Jay says, hello, Mike, new subscriber here. Love your content, Native, Cherokee, and Black. Well, shout out to Jay. And Jay, let me know, when you say you're Native, Cherokee, and Black, are you saying that you're a member of the tribe, that you traced your genealogy? And the only reason I asked that is because we watched a goddamn it, I damn near want to call it a sermon. It was so much good information, but we watched a lecture earlier in the week from a professor of Native and Black Studies in North Carolina, and he said that actually a lot of Iroquois mislabeled themselves Cherokee, because the Cherokee at one point in time, since they always beef with the Iroquois, apparently the Cherokee went and were massacring all the Iroquois. So a lot of Iroquois started lying and saying that they were Cherokee. So apparently a lot of Black Americans on the East Coast claim they're Cherokee, and some of it isn't, them actually doing the genealogy research. Some of it is them just, passing on that oral history that stems in some cases from folks just trying to survive. So they claimed a tribe that they actually weren't a part of. But yeah, the more that we dive into this Native Black American history, the more we realize how nuanced history is.
Talk about the relationship, the complex relationship between Black people and Indigenous people.
There is this relationship between Indigenous people mean original people. The Indigenous people of Africa, the original people of Africa, the Indigenous people of Turtle Island, which is Canada, North America, and South America. And there is a long, long history of the unification and the relationship of the Black and Native community.
And shout out to Jay. Jay said, I trace my family history, have documents and photos from our family historian. So Black American and Cherokee, sir. Well, shout out to a brother who did his paperwork, y'all. I advise everybody to trace their genealogy. It's not as hard as you guys think it is. Don't buy one of those DNA tests. That ain't gonna tell you shit. But shout out to Jay for doing the research.
But I could go all the way back, but I'm gonna go to just after 1492. There is a movie called The Doctrine of Discovery that I advise everyone to try to go see or try to get it. And it's about the Papal Bulls. But also it's about what happened with Indigenous people in regards to when they try to colonize, and they was turning a lot of the Indigenous people, trying to turn them into slaves. And so when the Africans came, they already I don't believe that Native people felt and I mean saw color. I believe in our traditions that we saw each other's heart. We saw pain. We saw a commonality there. And so when they were seeing the Africans being treated as less than and being killed and murdered and everything, that genocide that was happening, that the indigenous people just came out of that genocide, that commonality began to happen, that relationship began to happen, and there was many indigenous tribes, especially in the southern region, that was adopting a lot of the Africans into the family. And so out of that unification came the Seminole War. Those were free Africans and the indigenous people of that land of Florida, that whole area. Out of that came the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Creek, the Cherokee, and then even on the Trail of Tears, those were free Africans with the Cherokees that were forced to go to Oklahoma. And then once in Oklahoma, that's where Black Wall Street, so much. And then if you look at Seminole today, that's in Florida, that whole area, the unification of Black and Native people is so phenomenal in regards to the nation that could be built with it. And so since this unification, our common oppressor, Washichu, we say, or the white man, basically was, or for our former slave masters was like, okay, we got to keep the slaves here next to us in the urban community, right under massa, and let's take the Native Americans further removed away from the Africans, because we can't let them unify, because their power is so intense, and the knowledge and the customs, everything is so similar, all the way down to the beadwork, and everything is so similar. So they had to separate. So right now in America.
And that is very true. In my recent research, I learned that it wasn't only just the fact that indigenous tribes were just so accepting, they just let anybody in. Well, also, you have to think by the time the Europeans came, they had already been butchered and slaughtered by the Spaniards. The Spanish came to North America first, and they were chopping off legs, chopping off arms, doing the most egregious bullshit you can imagine. Not only that, but they also killed off 90% of the indigenous folks with their foreign pathogens and germs. So by the time the Europeans got over here, a lot of these tribes were just so weak, and they just didn't have the manpower. I mean, imagine we've got a tribe of 50 people, and we each play a role. We play, you get the fish, I get the berries, you get the this, we go hunt, you do that. Well, when most of your tribe dies off, you need manpower. You need resources. And, I think it's that, and the tribes being very accepting and not seeing color and seeing heart. I think it's a combination of the two, which resulted in so many of these tribes allowing freed Africans or Seminole Africans, as well as Europeans, to intermix with the tribe. I'm part Irish German on my mother's side, and my blonde-haired, blue-eyed German grandma tells a story about how our forefather on that side, he was in prison in Europe. And the powers that be said, hey, you can go to the colonies and you can fight for the crown, or you can stay here in prison. So he went to the colonies to go fight in the revolution. I'm not sure if it was the revolution or a different skirmish, but he went to go fight for Britain. And apparently, he was very young, but when the first musket shot went off, he ran. He went AWOL, and he ran and ran and ran and ran until he couldn't run no more. And he ran into an indigenous tribe and was adopted and intermixed and intermarried. And that's my European side. We ain't even talking about the other side, which is where I get my tribal membership with the Muscogee Creek Nation. So, I mean, tribes was letting not necessarily everybody be a part of the tribe, but if you showed good character, or seemingly so, or if you guys had a similar enemy, similar oppression, or you were useful, Yeah, the tribe let you be one of them.
America, 89% of African Americans have Native in their lineage. That's a long lost family. So many people have.
Hold on, I want to hear those stats again. What was that?
So they had to separate. So there is, so right now in America, 89% of African Americans have Native in their lineage.
Damn, I never heard anybody quantify it. I never heard anybody put stats behind it. I've always wondered, I've always said in my mind's eye, in my heart of hearts, I always thought, I felt that 80 or 90% of us have to have indigenous heritage, because those of us that fought or fled the plantation, we intermixed and intermarried with the natives. And a lot of us were Black Aboriginals that were misclassified as Negro and placed on the plantation with those few African slaves that did come over. So I'm not surprised that the sister's saying that 89% of African Americans have Native heritage.
And the knowledge and the customs, everything is so similar, all the way down to the beadwork and everything is so similar. So they had to separate. So there is, so right now in America, 89% of African Americans have Native in their lineage. That's a long lost family. So many people have Native in their lineage because their ancestors were forced to remove themselves out of Native communities or vice versa. And they were forced to either say Black, white, or other. They was not allowed to say. So for me, I always say, I am a survivor of so many Native and Black. My mother was full blood and my dad is Black. And to say that I'm proud to be that, because so many of my ancestors that were of two was not able to say that. They were either killed or they were saying, you have to choose what you look like. You see my beautiful melanin skin. I'm proud to say that I'm Native American and Black, because I know what my ancestors fought so hard and on that unification to happen for me to be here. So so why is it important today? Well, that unification has to happen again. We're at war. You heard my sisters say, they said that they are, I mean, when we was up there, and I spoke to you, Chuck, they had their dogs out. They have what are those things? Drones putting mustard, is that mustard? Tear gas all on everybody, or whatever, some type of yellow substance on people. They have militarized police.
Come on, y'all. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Pleckert's policies pressured state agencies to reclassify most citizens claiming Indian identity as colored. They was literally going to census records, and if you put Indian on your census, on your birth certificate, on your marriage documents, they would cross it out and write colored. Damn. I wonder why they always putting out slave movies every other year, trying to convince us we come from Africa. What do we have in common with Africans? Oh, wait. Do we eat the same food? Do we dress the same? Do we have the similar traditions, similar religious practices? No, no, no.
Police up there. Now we know in this past 2 years, 3 years, we know what militarized police look like. Well, those that have that type of training on how to deal with that, we need to go to Standing Rock. This unification has to happen. And it's not because we say Black lives matter. Yes, our life matters. Native lives matter. Yes, Native lives matter. But right now, that unification has to happen because.
Come on, y'all. Come on. Shout out to the Godfeather. He says, facts. They did that to my great grandma and grandpa. Yeah. Come on. Hey, just like the brother Jay Hawk said earlier, me and Jay Hawk was kicking it back and forth about how important it is to do your genealogy, to do your research, right? Well, goddamn it, look how difficult they make it. Imagine you go to do your genealogy and you find some census records and it says your ancestor was colored. Well, goddamn it. For all we know, that's really a black Aboriginal that was mislabeled and reclassified to color. Hey, imagine you do your genealogy and you find one of your ancestors on a plantation. It says they're on a plantation. You find the slave bill of sale and the records, and it says that they're a Negro. But wait, they could have been a black Aboriginal that was reclassified from Native American to Negro and then made a slave. So, guys, when you do your genealogy, you can't just look at census records. You have to cross-reference census records against birth certificates, death certificates, and marriage certificates. Let's talk about it. The census may say black, Negro, colored, but then the birth certificate and the marriage certificate and the death certificate says American Indian.
Our life will not matter without water. They are attacking our water. This is not just Native, like, oh, Native Americans are just, they're just dealing with environmental injustice. This system has, these people have constantly tried to separate us, saying, okay, racism or police brutality is just a black thing. Latino immigration is just a Latino thing. Environmental injustice is just a Native thing. They try to separate it, but it's all the same. We all are all affected by it. And this is that time where we have to unify again, just like how our ancestors unified to escape slavery.
So when black people say, I got Indian in my family, that's usually true.
It is very true. Because 89% of African Americans today have Native in their lineage, whether it was, and when you hear like, well, my grandmother was a Cherokee princess. I mean, she probably was beautiful, but she wasn't a Cherokee princess. There wasn't that, but she was probably very beautiful. But that just goes to show how distant even though we became, as African people, we became forced, kidnapped from our homeland of Africa. Then we come here and join with the indigenous people of this land. And then we're forced away from that family. And then we're right next to Massa. And then we're like, man, so I want to go back to Africa. Well, guess what? First, before you go to Africa, get to the tribe that help our ancestors move away from the slave master. That's also your family.
That part. People want to be like, oh, you guys are just embarrassed to be African. You're just trying to separate from your African lineage. No, let's play devil's advocate and say I'm the descendant of Africans. My African ancestors were sold by their fellow African to a European foreigner and then brought to the other side of the world to be made free labor. And when they rebelled and fled and fought, the Aboriginal tribe let them in, allowed them to marry their daughter, allowed them to survive with them. I mean, God damn it, I think we should honor our Aboriginal heritage much more than any distant African heritage.
So we are connected all the way for the indigenous people of this land, all the way back to the indigenous people of Africa.
What are you guys' thoughts on the election and the way that's been playing out as it relates to all of this? I talked to somebody, for example, in Hillary's camp, and I stressed certain things as it related to the Black community. And not to say they were negative about it, not negative, but I won't say dismissive, but I'll say that it was focused on the broader issues and Donald Trump, obviously.
And guys, if you haven't seen it yet, I want you to go to my channel and check out a broadcast I did, 13 days ago now. I did a broadcast. Shout out to Tech Phoenix, just reminded me of it. So Tech Phoenix says, my great-grandma was classified as mulatto in Tennessee, then reclassified as Negro in Oklahoma. She was half Cherokee and fully fluent. Yeah, I did a broadcast not too long ago talking about Loving versus Virginia. They want to tell us this was a Black woman. They want to tell us this was an African-American woman. No, she was a full-blooded American Indian, guys. She was full blood. Her family had to come out, correct the government, say she was never Black, she was never African American, she was a full blood Native Black American. Okay, there was no Africa, there was no admixture. Yes, she was melanated. Yes, clearly she wasn't white, but that's the Black Aboriginal that you're dealing with there. So, guys, go ahead and check out that broadcast if you haven't seen it. I went through the receipts, all the documents, all the evidence to show you guys. Loving versus Virginia was not about an African American marrying a white person at all. And the revisionist history and the false African identity they put on her, damn, her own family had to come out and speak against it. So make sure to check out that broadcast if you haven't already seen it already. But yeah, Tech, the misclassification is deep. Jay says, just look at us, high cheekbones, etc., copper and caramel shades of skin. Yep. Facts. Let's talk about it. Shout out to Unique American, says, hey, brother Mike TV, you're constantly dropping fire videos and content, and thank you for your education. But it's a lot of us that doesn't have any African DNA in us stuff. Oh, yeah, no, I totally understand that. And when I do this Aboriginal content, I try to spend equal time shedding light on those of us that do descend from Africans that married into the tribes, just as much as I shed light on those of us that were Aboriginal from the jump and don't have any African admixture. So yeah, facts. Big facts, big facts. But let's keep on with the content, y'all. If anybody wants to call in and provide some commentary, now is the last chance to do so. But let's see what else this sister had to say. Hey, and the mother Native girls looking big mad. The mother Native girls looking like, God damn it, our elders are going to be getting at us once we get to the tribe. Talking about why do we let it get out that so many Black Americans have Native, and like, they're looking crunchy, y'all. They're looking crunchy that the sister is spilling the beans. And shout out to Christopher. Thank you for hitting the Cash App, brother.
Can I answer that and you can add on? Okay. You know, when we look at the Dakota Access Pipeline, the funders that are funding this pipeline.
Oh, and no, correction, S. She's combining Africa with Native Americans because there were Africans sent to North America to be slaves. They estimate between 92,000 and 300,000. I think it was closer to maybe 100,000. And many of those African slaves did rebel, flee, and mix in with Native tribes. Nat Turner, indigenous and African. I mean, there's so many folks, indigenous and African mix. So, you know, just like people don't want to acknowledge that Black Aboriginal people with zero admixture exist when they do, there's also those that can't fathom the fact that there are Africans that mix with natives. So, you know, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. Come on now. Come on. Just like we want people to acknowledge the Black Aboriginals, we should also acknowledge the Black natives that do have some, albeit extremely distant, African heritage.
Are the banks: Chase, Wells Fargo, TD Bank, SunTrust Bank. Oh, God, I could go on and on. Bank of America. I want to make sure we're calling y'all out. But Marathon, Sunoco, Gasoline. These same, and it's over 50 banks internationally. These same funders are also funding Hillary and Trump. Why aren't they talking about the Dakota Access Pipeline? Why aren't they talking about environmental injustice? Why aren't they talking about issues that are affecting?
Yeah, them girls big mad. They big mad. Sister's up there pulling a Kanye, y'all. Sister up there having a Kanye moment. George Bush don't care about Black people. These Native sisters is like, she's spilling too many beans. You know, she stick to the script. We were supposed to be talking about headdresses and the three sisters and when the next powwow is. You cooking too much, sister. You cooking. Oh Lord, oh Lord. But you know what? We've got our first live caller of the evening. Coming from the back to the front is Godfeather. Godfeather, let us know where you're calling in from and what's on your mind.
What's up, bro? Man, I'm calling from Fort Arthur, Texas, bro. Hey, look, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna lay it all out there, you know what I'm saying? Because I've been researching this stuff for a hot minute, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, it got me to the point where I started remembering things from when I was growing up, you know, stuff my grandma